You're going.
Okay. MJ in the house. And if y'all can see me, because we're having the most technical problems with it we could ever have. Me and Mean Mike, my best friend, Mean Mike in the house. Can you hear me, Mean Mike?
I can hear you, but I'm looking on the feed, and it doesn't look like we're.
Eric's going to be out for a minute because he's going to restart and boot up.
No, we're on. We're on. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, we'll run it until Eric gets back. When he gets back,
cool.
then we'll all be apart. But for the time being, welcome aboard, man. The rocker Marty Jannetty and the Mean Mike, mean dancer machine. Mike is here. Man, I told y'all so much about him. With disorderly conduct, with Texas Hangmen, and us. 41 years now, right?
Can you believe that? 41 years since we met in Kansas City. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Bro. Crazy.
Yeah, and that was when I started, and then you later told me you actually started a few months before me, so you're around 42 years in the business.
Well, I've been out a long time, so I'm actually not in that long anymore. My last match was in 2015. So
15 and mine was 220. Yeah, because mine had been right at 5 years.
Who was your last match? Was it with that one guy that you wrestled a couple times?
Yeah, Joey Janela.
Yeah.
And it was in Cleveland, and we had worked in Orlando on a, I was going to say a pay-per-view. I don't know if it was or not, but it was WrestleCon weekend or WrestleMania weekend in Orlando, like 20, whenever that might have been, 16 or 17. Y'all.
It was around the same time, yeah.
Yeah, and the match we had, my ankles were already starting to act up, but I was certainly able to do more then than now, and we put together a match that the place loved. I mean,
I saw the video. It was a good match.
Oh, you saw it?
Yeah, I did see it. It was really good. Actually, I think I saw both your matches, but yeah, that was good.
Yeah, and he was good, and I think he carried me some spots. He took good care of me because in my elderly years, the flip-flops, ups and downs, backflips, and all that shit wasn't coming quite the way they were back in our days,
I feel ya.
But he carried me through it, and it was good. Now, what happened? Like 2 to 3 years later, we were in Cleveland, Ohio, and LeBron wasn't there yet. But he was supposed to come like a homecoming. He's from there, Akron, Ohio, originally.
Is that where he's from? Okay.
Yeah, originally, yeah, and so. With all that he's got going on now, I just thought I'd bring that up. But he didn't quite make it unless he came after. But anyway, him and I had to work again, wrestle again. And, I had, Gangrel, of course.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And Gangrel and I were in the back, and we were taking pictures. It wasn't making fun of. We were taking pictures. But there was this religious statue. It was in a Catholic school or something. And we were taking pictures of some of the trophies, but we happened to be giggling or something in front of, I don't know, a David statue.
Right.
And somebody even came over to both of us and said, "Oh man, don't be seen laughing, at the statue." Well, we weren't laughing at the statue.
At a wrestling show, who cares? I mean, come on.
Yeah, and in the back, it was in the back of the, in the dressing room area, and. But here's the freaky thing. We got that picture. I wish I would have had it ready for the show right here. But we not a big deal, just laughing about it. That ended up being the last match of my career.
Because it's crazy because you didn't know that would be your last match.
No, I didn't want it to be.
Well, I got you.
Yeah, but when it happened, is I even told him ahead of time that he was excited. He's like, do it again. It's like, no, brother, I can't. Just a couple of 2-3 years later,
right.
And I was like, no, we're gonna have to slow it down, tone it down a little bit. I can't do
your ankles were trashed by then, man.
And you could see it. You could look at my ankles and they're collapsed.
Dude, I remember seeing you in Milwaukee, and you did a show for Dave Hero, and I thought you had your wallet stuffed in your boot.
Yeah,
it was so big and swollen, and it was actually just your ankle.
Yeah,
and you had a hell of a match that night too. I don't know how you did it.
That was the one. Milwaukee. Would you?
It was like I don't remember where it was at, but I came out to see because I knew you were going to be there, and I happened to be in town, to see my mom who was sick. And remember we hung out a little bit, but
yeah.
your
Was
ankle was
terrible Tom there too?
terrible Tom, tough Tom.
Tom.
Terrible Tom.
Well, somebody asked about
only his wife calls him Terrible Tom. That's the bedroom thing. But anyways, yeah, Tough Tom wasn't there. No, because he lives in Sheboygan. That's about 90 minutes away.
Yeah.
But I was there, and I remember seeing your ankle, and I was like, "Oh, Marty's got his wallet in there," because you don't know a lot of the boys. But then I found out that wasn't your wallet. That was just how big and swollen your ankle was. Oh, I think Eric's coming. There he is.
What's going on, guys?
There he is.
Thank God.
What happened?
We'll see how long it lasts. I don't know, man. It's like right before we were about to go live, it just completely froze up and kicked me out.
Well, hey, man, we're here now. I'm looking at the thing on my phone. It looks like a lot of questions and people saying hello. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking at him on the side, but I can't read it. So I got
to ask really quick, Marty. I saved this for the show. Now, Mean Mike, were you cousins with Mean Mark from WCW?
No, that would be the Undertaker. I wish I was, because maybe I would have got a better push, but no, unfortunately not. And there's a lot of Mean Mikes. I mean, there was Mean Mike Enos, but yeah, I was not.
What Mike Enos was Mean Mike?
He was Mean Mike too, yeah. I was probably the most under Mean Mike of all the Mikes, but yeah.
No, you wouldn't.
So, Eric, I was going to say to you, it's now that you're back on the air, I'm really happy to meet you. I can't tell you how many nice things Marty said about you. I mean, he really is fond of you, thinks of you highly, and I'm glad I got to actually get on here. And Marty and I have been talking about us getting on the podcast together forever.
Well, yeah.
And now we finally made it happen. So it's
yeah.
cool.
But I've watched him on other ones, and I'm like, damn, you're so good on this. When I was thinking of getting this one, I'm like, gotta get him. He's the best thing on there. I mean, he's so good on him.
Wow.
And then when he got on, he was like, no, don't want to follow Rod Van Dam. No, don't want to follow whoever it was. Remember?
Me? I mean, I can guarantee you some of your people who are listening are going, geez, he's really scraping the barrel to have Mean Mike on there.
No.
No.
Mike's a bonus man to have on it all.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
how long did you do in the business, Mike?
I started in 83 or 82, November of 82.
Okay.
And then I wrestled till 2015 was my last. So I did about 33 years.
Oh, wow.
And I met Marty in my first territory. I got a break to go to Kansas City in 1984, and I wasn't ready. I was green, but I got a break, and I went there. And luckily, I ran into Marty, and he was teaming with his partner, Tommy Rogers. They were called the Uptown Boys. And he didn't really like Tommy that much. So he.
Well, no, it wasn't so much I didn't like him.
Well, I remember you were going to beat him up one time on the side of the road, but go ahead.
Well, it got that way. And pretty much, I'll be honest, and I think you know it too. You saved his ass. Because, I mean, he did.
I saved his ass because you were going to kill him.
Yeah, that's what I meant. You saved his ass. And well.
And who's that we're talking about again? I'm sorry.
His name was Tommy Rogers, but he wasn't the Tommy Rogers from the Fantastics.
No, his actual name was Tommy Lane. And
he ended up being one of the RPMs as Tommy Lane later on.
Yeah.
But at that time, him and Marty were called the Uptown Boys, and they had the straps, and they were on top wrestling the grapplers.
And you know what it was that he didn't like was when I came in, it was my first time. It was
it was both our first break.
Yeah, and so. They told me, well, hey, we're going to team me up with a tag team. I don't care. Yeah, do whatever you want to do. And then they said, it's going to be this guy over here. Go get to know him. It was Tommy. And I was like, oh, not a problem with me. But what I did not know, they were looking to form a tag team. And Tommy Rogers, and if you remember Dusty Wolf, I know you remember him, Mike.
Dusty Wolf, oh yeah, he's great.
Yeah. He good brother too. They were going to tag them, and they were just like so close. So when they came in and changed it, and made it me, both of them, more so Tommy.
He didn't like it because it was his buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, they got asked at me. Hey, look, man, I'm just happy to work here, man. And but first territory, whatever they want. I mean, I'm not going to blow nobody, but I'll do whatever you want. And then they. Eric, let us know if we get out of line.
So bottom line is what happened is Tommy and Marty were on top, and I came in as a bottom. Mike Madigan I was wrestling as was my first break, and I didn't even have a car. Like literally, a buddy drove me there and just dropped me off at the Capri Motel where all the boys stayed. And
From Milwaukee, I didn't know that.
yeah, and luckily, Marty and I just kind of connected in the dressing room, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to drive with me? I don't really have anyone to go with." I'm like, "Hell yeah!" I didn't even know how to get to the towns, and so Marty and his white Mustang would drive me to all the towns, and so it was great, man. We just bonded, and I was his travel partner. It was so awesome. I was lucky because I didn't have a car even.
Did you guys meet the AW?
No. We met in Kansas City before the AWA, and so this was in '84 before Marty went to the AWA, and so I didn't last very long. I lasted about maybe a summer, 4 or 5 months, because I just wasn't ready. And
But
Marty,
but let me ask you this, because fans probably want to know, and I definitely do, because you're my boy forever. I never knew, was it another territory was wanting to get you, or had you got tired of Kansas City, the territory?
well, I wish it was that way. No, Geico gave me my notice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I wasn't that good. I was only 19. I'd
No, you were pretty
been
good
on the road. And my first match was against Gypsy Joe, so I started off horrible because he just beat the shit out of me.
That's another story.
And bottom line is I just wasn't ready to do it, and I did the best I could. And then Marty, remember when I got my notice? Well, you probably didn't even know I got my notice, but when I had to leave, I didn't have a car, so Marty had to drive me to the Greyhound station. First and only time I ever rode on a Greyhound all the way to Milwaukee, 12 hours. What a long, shameful drive that was. Oh God.
I do remember that. And that Mustang went through some shit, didn't it?
Yeah, you drove me. Marty drove me the way. He was so sad when I was leaving. Yeah. You know how you see in the movies, he came running up to the bus when I was leaving.
Oh,
and he put his hands up against the glass, and then I put my hands up against the glass, and then the bus took off, and then Marty's chasing the bus.
Oh, now we're going
chasing the bus, and then finally, right when we got to St. Louis.
Oh, I love it. Keep going, Mike.
3 hours later, he finally stopped when we got to St. Louis and turned around. But it was tough on Marty to see me leave. I had him at hello.
You can see we ribbed each other a lot. We ribbed other people a lot, but we ribbed each other quite a bit.
Actually, Marty was happy to see me go. He's like, God, I got to get a partner. I got to get someone to travel with that's better.
Well, no, I think I was still tagging with Tommy, but we
completely. You were.
Stopped riding together. And that little scuffle that we almost got into, that he's glad we didn't. That was, I think, right at the end.
That could have been bad.
Huh?
Think about that. That could have been bad. Like we were driving, it was just the three of us, and I was in the back seat. When I was in the front seat with Marty, and they started fighting. Remember, Marty? And you were just
arguing back and forth.
You're like, get out of the car. And man, you would have killed him. It was just so good that I stopped it. I didn't try to stop it, but you guys didn't fight. That would have been awful. That would have been awful.
Yeah. I mean, and I didn't hate him like that, but he just was. And you know what it was? I remember exactly what it was. After the show, there was some kind of local party, there was some fairgrounds or something where we wrestled, and then they were having an after party and all that. And back then I used to like to party.
Yeah, back then.
and so and he would have a drink or two, or if he thought he was about to hook up, he'd stay longer. But he wasn't hooking up. You and I were having a good time, and he was like, "We got to go, guys. We got to go." And I was like, "Okay, just a little bit longer, a little bit." Because I was trying to set up for next time we were in Wichita. That was in Wichita, and he had a little fit about that. So okay, if you'll be a baby, let's go. Yeah, we'll be back. But on the way, he just kept bitching.
Big Hero saying 2 legends right there. Talking about you and Mike. He's in the chat.
Okay.
Hi, Addie.
Hey, Mike. Get back to work.
She said, "Get back to work." But so he was just going on and I had a buzz. I don't know if you did or not. I think you had a buzz. We wasn't. It was day, like that was a day show. We had that, and then this is like 4 or 5 in the afternoon going back to Kansas City.
Yeah,
that's a 3.5 hour drive from to Kansas City from Wichita. What I think he was just more upset that he didn't have anybody hitting on him or him hitting on them.
Yeah, he was
Wasn't
jealous.
happening.
I mean, probably. I mean, it could be. Who knows? I like Tommy, but I get it. I mean,
I did too. I mean, I
and you
like,
know how it is, dude. When you have a partner, I mean, I don't have to tell you, but when you have a partner, and I know from my experience, having a partner sometimes isn't easy. You know what? You might love the partner, but you're going to butt heads like wives and husbands do. And when you're with someone so much, you sometimes are going to fight. It's just the way it
Yeah.
is.
and it's like you had said that on the Dark Side of the Ring. By the way, for y'all don't know, Mike was on the Dark Side. My episode of Dark
Yeah.
Side of the Ring.
That's great.
Because he's good on all this stuff. That's why I keep trying to tell you, you're good on everything you do.
I appreciate it, and thanks to Tara for booking me on there. I appreciate that. But hey, I was going to ask you because I'm getting people asking things. Ed Bogacki is a friend of mine. I don't know if you ever met him. He wrestled as Eddie Jackie. He owns a gym here in Clearwater. He's actually owned a lot of gyms, a couple of Gold's gyms. Now he's changed the name, but he wanted to know, and I think you did. He said, ask Marty if he had a gym at one time. Didn't you own a gym at one time?
Or did I do what?
Didn't you own a gym? He owns a gym.
Yeah, Valdosta, Georgia. I bought a Gold's gym.
Okay.
Went in with a friend. It was mine and his.
What was it called?
Gold's. It was a Gold's gym.
Oh, it was a Gold's, like his. Okay.
Yeah. And the thing about Valdosta, Georgia, at that time, and probably still, they had very good high school sports. I mean, football, they were in the state every year. And then their college was in football and baseball, always in the state finals, in the playoffs. And so they had all that sports going on, but no gym. They had a YMCA and not an updated one.
So they needed a gym, a good gym.
Yeah. And one of the high schools had like a bench and a couple of weights, everybody's got to use. So you wait around. So it needed it. And it was the right place, the right time. Everything was good except the guy that I went in, it was a hometown boy. We worked out at the same gym. And
did you know the guy pretty well or no?
Not well, but I knew him, pretty good from the gym. We worked out a bit and we were buddies. He didn't really go out with my gang, and my gang didn't go out with him or his. But everything was good. But once we, it took after fact to find out that
was he screwing you?
Yeah. And I found out, because I had money at the time. This was WWF days.
Yeah.
Then I had money, so I had put in 150,000 cash.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and he had borrowed 400,000 because he was a majority owner. He had borrowed 400,000. He borrowed, whereas I put in cash because I won't pay the interest. Why? I got the money.
Yeah.
But that's where Macho Man corrected me after fact. Which that makes it worse because before.
Yeah.
Was, brother, if you got it, don't use it. You can get the bank, then they assume all the risk.
Okay.
And then I was like, fuck, too late now. Because he ended up bankrupting it, telling me he wasn't making no money, yada, yada, yada. But he would only show me the P&L sheets or profit and loss sheets.
So he was skimming off the top.
Off the top and off the bottom and in the middle. He had actually he was married, yet he got a girlfriend in Chicago. He was flying in to do 2 aerobics classes a week, made her main instructor, and she was getting $500 a week to do 1 hour each time. None of the other people working there was making that. So, I mean,
how long did that gym go? How long did that gym go?
How long did that one go for?
How long did you have your gym?
A little over a year before it started falling apart because the more I would probe into it, because I was on the road with WWE.
Right. So he knows you're not around to check shit.
Yeah. And then when I would ask for the paperwork, let me see the sheets. As Lex Luger was helping me with it, because Lex had a couple of gyms up in Atlanta. And, I told him about it, and he calls them the nuts and bolts. But what is profits and loss sheets? How much you're paying out, what did it make, how much you're, And he goes, ask for the nuts and bolts. I said, nuts and bolts. He goes, well, just tell him the profit and loss sheets. And so I did, and he didn't have them at first. Now, how the hell are you not going to have them?
Right.
So, we forced the issue. He showed me 3 months worth. And he was telling me we were losing money to expect that because, and it's kind of true, any business, especially a gym, first 3 months are not going to make money.
Right.
And then they start picking up or whatever.
Yeah, it takes a while.
Yeah. And so I never got to see sheets, and I had to get an attorney. Tell him, get an attorney, man. This is bull.
So bottom line, he screwed you, and it was
Yeah,
it was a learning experience, though.
What's that?
You learned from it, though. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah,
but
it was
it's
too
tough. That's
late.
$150,000
He
lesson.
bankrupted,
Oh.
and then the bankrupt people sold what was still, however they did it. They ended up keeping it, and it's still there today, and it's packed. It's anytime that I travel through Valdosta, I'll be like, let me just go torture myself, and right by to look at it, and the fricker is full, man.
That could have been a money. Well, if you had the right guy, but you didn't. So I'm looking at the thing here. Guess who's on watching us right now? Dave Hero.
Hey Dave, what you doing, Goofy?
He goes, two legends, icons. Dave, thanks for tuning in. Dave is one of the best promoters, actually the best indie promoter in the entire country, I feel. Right, Marty? I mean,
yes,
come on.
sir.
Doesn't get any better.
He was so fun to party with, too.
Dave?
Yeah.
I never really got to
party Dave with Hero or Dave Hebner?
No, Dave Hero.
Oh, hey, Dave. Yeah, that's probably, to me, there's some good ones, so I'm not putting those down, but Dave, to me, is the best there is.
I agree. He's a great dad, great promoter. I mean, every show I've ever done for him has been top notch, and he's just solid as can be. And
you know, it's a weird thing for a guy that promotes. He cares, about the guys.
Absolutely,
that's a rarity in itself.
Yeah, he goes out of his way for people, which is cool. So I'm glad he's tuning. I actually looking at this thing. We got a lot of friends, Marty. You and I mutual friends.
How are you seeing it? I can see it was like tiny letters.
Well, my eyesight may be a little better. I am a little younger than you.
You didn't have to say it like that.
Hey, that Intercontinental belt behind you, is that an actual belt you had, or is that just like a replica?
I think the first one, the only one that I won.
So that's the one you actually won?
Yeah.
Oh, well, hey, hi, Austin Powers. How are you?
You know what happened with that? I think you do know this. I don't know if a lot of people know it. I'm going to take the magnifyings off. I'm trying to read what people are saying. Anne Marie's on there. Hey, Anne.
You and her had a little spat. You guys are cool now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we had a little spat because she
talked. No, let's not go there, but you guys are cool now, right?
Yeah. Well, okay. No, the only thing is she got mad at me for peeing on when I stayed at her house a few times. She was like, I had to flush the toilet a lot because I was drinking a lot. And so I was peeing a lot. And she was like, hey, you must have flushed the toilet 60 times.
I think you guys was all, that is why you guys were fighting. She came to your wedding. You guys, that was long.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. And she was one of the ones that didn't complain about what Addie was wearing, right? No,
it wasn't what Addie was. My girlfriend, Mina.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Was wearing a white like sundress.
Yeah.
And Missy.
You don't got to say name, but okay.
We're not even going to get into it, but Missy had a fit because for whatever reason she didn't like it. But
you know what's crazy about that is I don't know the rules of marriage anyway. I only got married once before, and it was for 4 days, and it was maybe I was out of my. I used to do drugs way back.
Yeah, I used to. Yeah, never, not now, of course.
Not like that, but yeah, she the whole rules and regulations, like Missy, but we won't say her name, but Missy had gone and got ordained to do the thing,
which was nice.
Yeah, very, and of course Beefcake, we're boys, so
and I love seeing him.
Yeah.
But it was so funny is you didn't even know there was a ceremony going on. We pull up to the beach in Bel Air there, and we're hanging out just having drinks, and you're pretty buzzed. And then all of a sudden you start to realize, damn, this is a ceremony. Remember that? You're like, what's going on here? That was great.
Because I think what Addie was wearing was very subtly white and subtly.
She did have that gimmick that women wear when they get
on the head.
I would have thought that would have given you a cue, but it didn't.
No, I thought she was being a goof because we goof off a lot, play
Okay.
a lot. So I
All
thought,
right.
oh, I was just cutting up, wear whatever she's gonna wear, and
Right.
went on the beach, and it wasn't until I was sitting there, and it was right by, wasn't it right by where we worked at Shepherd's, me and you,
No, it was on the beach, but it was quite a ways down.
a little bit from that.
Yeah.
But so we were sitting there, and man, love that sitting on the beach with the breeze hitting you,
Yeah.
and everything's good. You're with friends, like best friends, and having well, not a soda necessarily, but a beer, which is like a soda, and having a soda or two.
Yeah.
And and I start seeing everybody gather around. I saw Missy go. We won't say her name. We saw her go up to the band. There was a one-man
Right.
band.
The band stops. Yep.
Yeah, and whisper something.
Now it's
And
time for the ceremony.
yeah, and it is still my dumb ass. I'm sitting there looking, and I saw you, and I saw Beefer, and I saw a couple others
Yeah.
with their phones out, the camera
Anna
phones.
Marie was there. Mina was there. And you're like, why is everyone taking pictures?
Yeah, what is up with it? And then, when the music played, and I'm like, oh shit.
I'm getting married.
Yeah, I'm this far into it and just now realized.
That's great, dude. That is great.
Addie got mad at me. He could have said no. I'm like, yeah, that would look real great. We got all of our friends. It was a small group. I was like,
It was cool though. Yeah, it was great.
And a nice little quaint party and a good time and on the beach. And it was, to surprise me, was a great fun thing in itself.
Yeah.
So what kind of an ass would I have been to say no?
Well, you wouldn't have anyways, but you were just surprised. I could have done without Missy yelling at my girlfriend, but what are you going to do? Oh, there he is. He's back.
We'll see for how long.
Eric, if you don't want to hang out with us, just tell us. We don't.
Man.
Yeah, I did. I thought you were listening, but just not on camera. I didn't know you was gone all that time.
No, he's gone.
Kicked me off. I've had to cycle my internet like three times.
I heard him snoring. He's not even into this thing.
I thought that was you. I heard that too.
No.
So I was looking at these questions. There's a lot of people asking a lot of different stuff.
Let me see what I can see.
Tommy
you're
wants
better
to
at
know
that
if
than
you
I
got
am.
a haircut, Marty.
Oh yeah, that's what me and Mike was just talking about.
Did Addie do that, or
Well, if I got to be honest,
because she does a good job?
if honesty wanted here. Yeah, what had happened was I tried to get the regular hair people to do it, but the lady that does it wasn't in and was running late, and we had to. Where was we supposed to go?
Oh, hey, I was going to ask you. I got a question for you. Can I ask a question, Eric?
Yeah.
So my buddy Dan Hooks is on here. I see him. He was a bouncer. I don't know if you remember him or not, Marty. I wish I could talk to him, but Dan was a bouncer at Shepherd's too. And I don't know if you know this or not, Eric, but me and Marty actually bounced together at a beach resort in Clearwater when he was living.
Shepherd.
Yeah, when he was living with me, he worked with me at Shepherd's, and it was this wild beach resort where all kinds of crazy shit would happen. And we had Big Bill there, and Dan Hooks was there, and man, it was so much fun, right, Marty? We had some.
Yeah, Bubba the Love Sponge come out. That was his place. Bubba, we worked at his place.
Well, Bubba's was a different club. Yeah, we worked Bubba's too. Yeah, we worked two clubs. I forgot about that. We worked Bubba's club too. Yeah. So I Marty was a bouncer for a while, and he was good.
Now, say it this way. Say security.
There was a time, believe it or not, when I was running the security at Bubba the Love Sponges Club. It was called Planet Bubba.
Yep.
And do you know who Bubba the Love Sponge is, Eric? He's the sex tape. Okay, so him and I are really close too, pretty much as close as I am to Marty. But anyways,
yeah, I didn't like that. We've been friends longer.
Well, yeah, that is true. But anyways, at one time, Marty and the Cuban Assassin, Fidel Sierra, and CV Afi all worked with me at Planet Bubba. Can you imagine that crew? You're talking three CV Afi and Marty and me and Cuban. It was great.
Yeah. And
now you still have a lot of wrestlers in that town. Previously, I know I interviewed last year with Dan Severn. We had on a Bushwhacker Luke, and he was saying that he bounces at a club down there in Clearwater.
Bushwhacker Luke, actually, he's involved.
He bounces?
No, he doesn't bounce.
He's like a door guy.
Yeah, he's like a promoter for like one of the, I forgot the name of the restaurant, but yeah, he's doing just so many workers down here in Tampa area, so many. And then you got Ric Flair, who's living here now too. So
Oh,
I mean,
Flair's
When
down
did that
there.
happen exactly? We were
Flair
talking
lives in
about that the
yeah,
other
Flair
night.
lives in Tampa.
Is that because of like the connection with the Hulkster?
I don't think so. No, I think he got tired of Charlotte and just decided a fresh start. And he's down in the Channel Side area. And I see on my Facebook feed, he's getting in all kinds of stuff. He's a madman. I mean,
Yeah, Eddie Mansfield.
he's living his best life, partying all the time, man. He's crazy.
Yeah, Eddie Mansfield had sent me that. I think I sent it to you because I couldn't see exactly what the argument was in a club. He was like midday. Him and one other dude and about two other people, and then like whoever was working there and one bouncer guy. That was it in the place, and he's getting hammered during the middle of the
He
day.
gets kicked out once in a while of places, but he's got this main bar that he goes to, and he does happy hour every day there, somewhere in Channel Side. And he even did a signing, an actual signing, a remote signing, while he was doing happy hour at that bar.
Oh wow!
Yeah, he doesn't want to miss his happy hour.
You know, Mike, one day I was going to ask you. I think I've asked you before, but I know I haven't been. And Hulk's asked me several times, "Hey, be sure to come down." Even Jimmy Hart. I don't know if Jimmy's works or hangs out.
Jimmy's all over here. Yeah, he's here.
Dude, the last time I was there, Jimmy was there.
Really?
Yep.
And,
you talking about Hogan's Hangout? Hangout? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mondays they have that karaoke thing. It kills. Does really well.
That's what we went for. Dennis Rodman was there. It was pretty good. That place was packed out, man.
It's so crowded. Too crowded for me, but yeah, it's great.
And I hate to ask, because it makes me seem like, well, you're square now. You don't know what the hell's going on. How is it though, Mike? Is it like what we would have done? We'd have hung out in the older days?
If you were living here, we'd be hanging. Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's super packed, but it's a lot of tourists because that Clearwater's a tourist.
Which is good for him.
So he's killing it, and he always has his son there, and they do the karaoke. And Eric, you saw it's fun.
Oh yeah,
it's a good time. It's a little crowded for me, but it's fun. Yeah, it's a good time, and the food's good there. I've gone there on non-karaoke times and just ate some food and hung out. It's cool.
Me being single, would I have liked it for that reason?
When you were single, you would have loved it. Yeah, you would have done well, and I'm sure you. It's good. It's a great place, and it's right on the beach. It's right on the beach.
Avoid any trouble. Stop it, man.
You could have hosted the karaoke when you go, Marty.
And you know what? He would if he was there. I'm sure you would. Definitely.
Do you guys know any? Like I saw some updates from Brian Blair today. Supposedly, the Hulkster's going through some health issues, and there's been a lot of controversy. People were saying he was on his deathbed, and there's other people saying that's not true. I saw Brian Blair said today that he's doing okay. A lot of that was false. Have you guys heard about any of that?
I reached out to Bubba today actually about that because Bubba and I keep in contact, and I haven't heard back. But Bubba has been reporting that he's on his deathbed basically, and Bubba.
Well, I saw Bubba doing that, yeah.
But he doesn't report.
The Hulk is.
Yeah, dude. At one point,
Bubba doesn't report.
I think it was like a week
stuff.
ago. Bubba first reported. He said like Hulk might not be alive the next day.
Yeah, it sounded really bad. But here's the thing I would say: Bubba generally doesn't just say something without any actual sources. You know what I'm saying? Him and Hogan were close. Dude, when I went to Bubba's wedding, Hogan was his best man. They were close. They were super close to the sex tape. And
do you know if they have talked since that lawsuit, Mike?
I talked to Bubba, not as much as I used to, but Bubba and I are super. I'm as close to Bubba as I am to Marty, basically.
No, you better not be.
I'm just saying. I know everything, dude. And Bubba's got.
We need to get Bubba on here, Marty.
We could. Bubba actually has a. It's going to be on streaming. He's got a documentary that's coming out called "Video Killed the Radio Star." And it's going to be about the whole thing. And maybe I shouldn't even be talking about this, but I saw it, and it's amazing. And it talks about the whole sex tape and everything that went on. But to answer your question, they are not friends. Hogan doesn't want anything to do with Bubba, even though Bubba would love to be friends with Hogan. And it's a shame because Bubba didn't. I'm not going to get into it too much, but Bubba didn't.
I got you.
But Bubba, I can promise you this, though. Bubba did not plan for that to happen. It wasn't Bubba's fault that all went down. There were some people involved, which you'll see on the documentary, that did some kind of shady things that caused it to happen. So bottom line is but it's going to be out soon, and it's a great documentary. It's over 2 hours. It's great.
So unfortunately, man, I got cut off earlier, and I was really interested in hearing about your career. You were talking about Kansas City. That was with Geigel, correct?
Yep.
What was he like to work for, Mike?
He was cool, man. He was actually a really cool, like, because he wrestled. You know, he was a old school guy, big guy, real big dude.
Badass,
it was cool. Hey, Marty, tell that story. Maybe you can't because of Eric, but
No, you good, man. Go ahead.
This one's a little racy, but I love this. This is my favorite Bob Geigel story. There was a bar called the Capri Motel that we all stayed at. Marty didn't stay there because he had a girlfriend.
I did stay there for a little bit.
You weren't there at this time. Well, maybe you were. I don't know. But bottom line is this hotel, the Capri, all the boys on Thursdays after the Memorial Hall, we would all party there, and Flair would be there holding, whatever. But bottom line is one time Marty and DJ Peterson were there. Now, I wasn't there that night. And Bob Geigel, tell him the story, dude. Bob Geigel comes up to their table. Now, it's a bar, and then there's a whole restaurant where there's tables.
Right next to it, yeah. Like attached, here's the restaurant. And right in the back
of the hotel. Yeah. Dude, you have to tell this story. It's an amazing story.
And it's Thursday nights that was the place.
That was the night, man.
Not just for wrestlers, for fans, because they knew a lot of wrestlers stayed there because they had like a weekly, monthly rate.
That night you didn't go to bed alone usually.
No, I didn't. No. and Geigel, he was such a fun guy. Tough son of a bitch, but just nicest guy. Harley Race used to brag about him. He goes, he's the last of the Iron Horses, which was he played both ways in football.
He's a big dude.
Yeah, and but to me, Bob and I got along so good. He liked me for whatever reasons, probably because I was goofy and he wanted to be goofy, but he had a company to run. But Dave and I were
DJ Peterson.
Yeah, Dave Peterson, my best friend other than Mike.
Now you're going to go there and have another best friend. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, but he, him, Wakita Underlay Honduranville has been since 15 years old, and we've remained tied.
Okay, so long story short, let's get to the story, Marty.
Doing it again.
Marty loves to tell a mile story that could be a block story, but go ahead.
But so we're in the, it was called the Capri. We're in the little bar area. Yeah, and it never failed. If you were one of the wrestlers, you go in there, you don't have to go back to your room alone. I mean, unless you want to, and nobody did. But so we were sitting, DJ and I, sitting in the last seat of the restaurant, but the first seat coming out of the, right there where the club.
And they're across from each other.
Across from each other.
At like a booth.
Sitting there, yeah, with a couple young ladies we had just met. And
they were college girls.
What's that? Yeah.
College
yeah.
Girls.
Oh, yeah. And we're sitting closer for a reason. I'll get to it. We're sitting closer to the outskirts, like a table. We're sitting closest on the outside. The girls are sitting on the inside, and they're sitting there, and Bob comes up, and they're very pretty, and Bob's,
And Bob didn't make many appearances at the Capri. He just wanted to talk with the boys a little bit.
Yeah, and say hi.
It's a little late for him.
Yeah, and he knew some of the stories of party with Marty, but he sees this kind of the girls that we were sitting with they looked a little perturbed, and he you can pick that up, the body language, and you hear Dave and I are sitting there like this. Smiling, they're sitting there looking up, and he figured out what's going on. Sorry, I was fussing. He goes, "How you guys doing? What's going on?" And he looked at Dave and I, DJ and I, and he goes, "I'm very surprised that you guys are here, not doing more with girls. You got these girls aggravated, pissed off," and asked him what college, all that conversation, and they still were just short to the point. And he goes, "Well, is everything all right? Why?" This don't make sense. These guys are always partying with a bunch of girls, and it don't look like you are. The one girl did like this. She reached and pointed under the table.
Under the table.
In the rest, there was a girl underneath doing.
There was two girls underneath taking care of Marty and DJ. while they were talking with the college girls at the same time.
Yeah.
So this
Bob
was
Under the table at the Capri.
yeah.
This was a common occurrence with you, Marty, because I heard a
This
similar
was a
story
little
from Larry
extreme.
Nelson in the AWA, talking
With
about
who?
you, him, and Sean doing the same thing.
No, there was one that happened at a Denny's, but it was me and Jeff Jarrett were there together. I don't know if that's
But the best thing about this one is Bob didn't know these girls were underneath the table. Plus, he was talking to the other two girls. And when remember you told me that when Bob realized there was two girls under the table, he says to the two college girls, "Well, you don't get taught that in college.
Yeah, you won't learn that in 2 years of college, 3 years of college."
Good Lord have mercy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It
Now-
used to be wild back then.
And you said you went to the A after that with Geigel?
Me or Mike?
Mike.
Oh no! I actually, what happened is I went home and just did indies for a while, and then Marty showed up a little while later for Vern, and then we started hanging out a little bit again. And I actually, Marty, you probably don't even remember this, but I was a jobber. You know the term jobber.
Oh yeah.
I don't like it, but
So
yeah.
Enhancement talent.
I was
like
back
that
to being
better.
enhancement because I still was green. And at one time in Vegas at the showboat, me and Knobs, and he was an enhancement guy too. Me and Knobs teamed up against Sean and Marty. How crazy is that? And then we ended up getting.
Dude, is there footage of that?
Yeah,
It had to be. Yeah, it had to be a TV tape.
it was me and Knobs against the Rockers, and we had a good match. And but then we ended up getting our careers, which was cool. But yeah, Knobs, that was before him and Sykes. I mean, they were doing stuff, but they weren't a solid tag team. You know what I'm saying?
No, they weren't the but first they were going to call them the Mercenaries. Remember?
Actually,
and-
I think Knobs did wear a hood as the mercenary a couple times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
And
think he had
and
fatigues.
they
And he
ended
did
up-
wear.
I don't, when did they become Nasty Boys? AWA?
Yeah, they did. But it took a while. But they both
They were the Nasty Boys in the AWA.
but they were
Yeah.
enhancement before that. They were just like
Okay.
Earthquake
Oh, yeah,
Ferris and me. I was Mike Richards back then, and
Okay, I got to get back to that rib.
we were all doing jobs, and then eventually Vern gave them a push. Yeah, that was their first break. Yep.
Yeah.
What was it like working for Vern, guys? That's something I would like to know. I've heard so many different stories of what he was like to work for.
He was old school as could be. Go ahead, Marty. You probably
Old
have a
Well,
good
well, no, I was
old
gonna say,
school.
you and I are going to have two different, not necessarily two different versions, but experiences, because as much as they were trying to push us, Vern, Greg would talk him into dad, just put up with it. Dad, Greg was his son, Greg Gagne,
Right.
would like, just
Because
put up
Greg
with
kind of ran things a little bit because Vern was old.
Yeah. And out of touch bad.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Man, I love
I
them
want to
both.
get back to Greg here in a second, but keep going. Sorry.
But I'll
But
tell
yeah.
you what, Vern didn't play around. And I'll let you tell your story, Marty, but I just want to tell you a quick thing. Vern was so old school that when we would do our tapings at the Rochester Civic Center for the TVs, when we were the Hangmen, if
y'all
Jan-
were the Hangman already. That's right. Y'all already
well,
Hangman.
yeah, we got a break for Vern. That was our first break. But
Okay.
and we would wear our hoods the whole time because I felt that that's what they wanted. So a lot of the boys didn't even know what we looked like. A lot of Scott Norton and all those guys had no idea who we even were. But anyways, long story short, Vern was so old school that if there was a janitor or a usher that would walk through, he wouldn't want the guys to talk during that time to each other because you had to kayfabe. He was that old
Dave,
school.
yeah, it was big.
That old school.
Now, how do you feel about that now, years later, looking back? Vern was protecting the business.
Yeah, I love it because he was so old school. One time we wrestled Scott Norton and John Nord at the Civic Center. It was one of the last shows for Vern. It was the Hangmen against those two. Now, keep in mind, you're talking Scott Norton and John Nord.
Big old Scott.
I mean, you're talking big boys.
Mm.
And we went out there and we wrestled them. And, of course, we were just trying to survive because these guys are so damn big. We're taking them down, grabbing chin locks, just trying to. And dude, we came back after the match. Vern pulled us in. Now, keep in mind, Vern didn't even know what we looked like because we always wore our hoods. Pulled us into the shower area and yelled at us for 30 minutes. This is at the end of the AWA. Does it really matter? For 30 minutes, he yelled at us how we took these big guys down and grabbed them in chin locks, and it wasn't the right thing to do. But the reality is, we were just trying to survive because these guys were so big and so strong, and they were killing us. We were just trying to get through the match.
I was gonna say, I never had to work against or actually with Scott Norton, but I'd heard when he gives you one across your back,
dude,
you
his
can't breathe.
head was as big as a rhino. That guy was a great guy, but he didn't know his own strength, and he was literally like wrestling a bull.
So you don't think he did it on purpose?
No, he was a good dude.
Yeah,
Him and Nord
okay.
both were great guys, but the problem is they were, their style was just rough.
Now, what
So when
was it similar working with the Road Warriors? I would think
I wrestled the Road Warriors. It was similar. Brody and Hanson. I wrestled all those guys. Yeah, every time you wrestled these guys, you were in for a fight. A little.
Now I heard Hanson was one of the worst because he couldn't see.
Yeah, I wrestled.
Yeah, that's an excuse that we heard too.
I've taken that lariat 3 times, and trust me.
Yeah,
you guys seen the video when he knocked out Vader's eye?
Yeah, that was
Knocked his
amazing.
eyeball out.
Those,
and I never knew that till I saw that was on Dark Side, right? But
it was pretty well known in Japan. I mean, those two, they were from competing companies, and they were the main event, and it just got out of hand. And I mean, they worked it out. But yeah, Eric, you're right. I mean, that was crazy. Knocked his eye out.
Oh yeah, it was crazy, man.
Yeah.
No, let me get back to Vern for a second. And talking about Greg, do you think if Vern would have gave that over to Greg much sooner, that he would have been able to keep that AWA going a little bit longer?
Marty? I don't think so, but go
not
ahead.
willingly.
No, I appreciate the honesty.
The whole family came to him, which would have been the girls, Greg, and maybe a couple guys he trusted the most, like Nick Bockwinkel
and Marty was very close with one of Vern's daughters, but we won't bring that up.
Is Larry and her still married? Zabisco?
No, so you can talk about it, but don't talk about it. You wouldn't anyway.
Well, because I don't want.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about
this
that
guy.
But I can tell you this, that Vern he didn't have the money to compete with Vince. Simple as that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He didn't have the money to compete with him. I mean,
he definitely. I don't think he gets enough credit for the vision that he has, because you look at that, mid '80s to early '90s WWF. Those are all AWA guys.
Oh yeah. At the beginning,
the AWA is one of the greatest territories of all time, and not so much later on. When I was getting my run as the Hangman, it was at the tail end, but that was in the '70s and in the '80s, and even into the '90s. The AWA was one of the premier leagues. I mean, Vern killed it, and Greg booked it great, and it was a great territory. And Marty and Sean were killing it, and then that catapulted them to the WWE.
Yeah, but it seems like after that big talent pool that Vince had from Vern, it just was never the same again.
He didn't have the money to keep him. Jesse left, Gene Okerlund left, everybody left.
And I think, Mike, he was kind of stuck on. He hated change.
Yes.
He didn't like seeing change.
Didn't change with the times.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah, he just wanted.
He was just old school.
Yeah.
He wasn't into pay-per-views and all the new stuff that was coming up. Vince Jr. was. Vince Sr. was probably a lot like Vern, and
probably I think he was.
And Vince Jr. had a different view and revolutionized the business.
Yeah.
Who could have? Nobody was able to fight that.
Well, and that was the thing. People were jumping ship because if you stuck with Vern, which, when we were starting out, I can only speak for Sean and I and Mike. When we were starting out, as much as we love the business, you're going to do better where you're paid more, and, it was a step up for me, and I'm sure for you too, Mike, going from dealing with Kansas City and the smaller promotions and even independents to going to AWA, it was a step up because we were new. So it's a step going.
I mean, you're always trying to get to the next level.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is WWE became the next level. And you got to remember this too. Vince just didn't put just Vern out. He put Watts out.
Everybody.
He put Stu Hart out. He
Von
put
Erichs.
Portland out, the Von Erich. He put them all out. He was just he took over the business for the best because the boys are making more money than they ever have. But
Right.
bottom line is the business was a territory business and it became a worldwide business.
Yeah, and at the beginning he plucked the most from AWA.
AWA, dude. That's what I said. Over half his roster was AWA guys.
Yeah,
and then the rest from Bill
absolutely.
Watson shit.
Because Vern had so much talent.
Yeah.
Vern had an eye. He knew the talent. He just didn't know how to keep
He
him
did.
there. He really
But
screwed
you
the
also-
boots with Hulk.
But you also have to remember, Vern made a lot of money and was very successful for many years until Vince came along. So it's not that Vern was out of touch. It's just that things changed, and then he no longer had the money because the state came after Vern Gagne and his property and all that. There was a lot that went into that, and it just didn't work out.
So
Yeah,
sad,
and he
man.
came down for the boys, like in mine and Sean's instance. Vern was going to keep us there for the lower money. He was, you guys can stay. WWF at the time was offering us much more money, but it wasn't guaranteed contracts. What it was a spot on the card. The higher up the card, the more you'd get paid because you got paid off the houses then. And you stay with basically you're going to stay with the sinking ship, or do you want to jump on the one that's going up? It wasn't a hard choice,
Hey Marty, when you went to Vern, I'm sorry, Eric, not to interrupt you.
No, go ahead, brother.
When you went from Vern to WBE, and I don't need to do numbers, but was the pay a big difference, or was it more just because you knew what it could be?
Well, with Vern, and this was part of the attraction for that territory. When you were doing not just independence, when you were doing territories, for instance, Kansas City, where we were, you remember that was 7 nights a week or 6, but definitely 6 nights a week.
And not much money. You're talking
what kind of money we looking at back then, guys?
In Kansas City
for the week.
For me, it was $350. You're making
$50 a night.
Show
$50 a night, yeah. But
so if you did,
and how much were you spending in gas?
I was driving with Marty, so I wasn't spending anything. But I would say, Marty, you were probably making $450, right?
Right between the worst weeks would be you get, like you said, 50. There was some 40s that shot through when things.
Oh, I got those too.
Yeah,
dude, Eric, listen to this. I'll tell you this real quick, not to change anything, but later on, my partner and I, my original Hangman partner, Bull Payne, and I, we were the tag team champions in USWA. You know that territory with Jerry Lawler?
Yeah, Jarrett and Lawler.
Yeah.
We were on top, okay? We were working 7 days a week as the champions, as the Hangmen, and we were doing probably 4,000 miles a week, and we were making $350 a week. Dude, we would wrestle on Mondays in Memphis, Tuesdays in Louisville, Evansville on Wednesday, then the spot show on Thursday. After the spot show on Wednesdays, we'd have to meet at a location, whatever they decided, hop on a tour bus, drive all the way to Dallas.
That's right. Y'all did
have to drive all the way to Dallas all night long for 12 hours. Now, this is me, my partner, Stone Cold, before
is
he
this
was
after the USWA bought out
yes.
Von Erichs?
Yes.
So okay, so you're going
on an
Tennessee
average
and
bus
back.
ride to Dallas, it would be me, Tom Pritchard, Stone Cold Steve Austin, but he was just stunning Steve at the time.
Yes.
Lawler, Dundee, Robert Fuller, Jeff Jarrett.
Chris Adams was a part of that too, wasn't he?
Well, he was already down there, but this was the drive down. And I'm trying to think who else, but it was a whole slew of us, and we would drive all the way.
I got you. That are making.
So we'd
the
get to the
trek from Tennessee
Sportatorium
over.
after the spot show on Thursday nights. We'd get to the Sportatorium at like 10 in the morning. The show doesn't start till the night, so then you got to sit at the damn Sportatorium, which is a shithole, a legendary building.
I was about to ask, dude.
But it was a rough. The building at the time we got there was very old and stinky and just old.
I heard the ring was the softest ring. It felt so good to take bumps on it.
You're being sarcastic.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, it was awful. Awful. It was like wrestling in Marty's back. It was awful. So long story short, that we would stay there all day and then wrestle at the Sportatorium for the TV taping. then get back on the bus, drive all the way back to Memphis, get there at about 8 in the morning, just to get to TV live at Memphis, the TV taping for the Memphis show. Do that, then hop in your car, drive all the way to Nashville to do the Nashville night show, and then you'd have Sunday off and start it all over again for $350.
Yeah, that it was.
If you had the chance to do it over, would you do it again?
Probably not, because that broke up my partner and I after that. But
Oh,
I'll be
man, I'm
honest.
sorry.
But I'll be honest though. Honestly, it was an amazing experience. But we were in Puerto Rico before that, and Eric.
I saw
Emby
that. I was going to ask you that. Now, was
We-
that before or after Brody had gotten killed?
after. But the guy who booked us was Jose Gonzalez, the Invader.
The one that
He-
killed.
Yes. Yeah. And so when he called me, because what happened, I'll make this quick because I want to get back more to Marty. But bottom line is what happened is that when we got when AWA closed, I sent so long ago it was, I sent a VHS tape to Puerto Rico to the office. And surprisingly, I got a call from Invader like 2 weeks later on my answering machine. I listened. He's like, "Amigo, we saw your tape. We want to bring you down to Puerto Rico. Please call me." And I'm like, "What?" So I call him, and it turns out that because of I didn't realize how strong ESPN is. They had seen us on the AWA every week. So they were all
okay.
about us. You know what I'm saying? So, because we were with Vern, So he's like, "We want to bring you down here for 2 weeks just to see how things go." And we're like, "Okay." So we went down there for 2 weeks. They gave us the straps the last night we were there. We're like, "Why are they giving us the straps? We're not even in the territory." From the medics, well, it turned out they had a plan. So he calls me as soon as we get back to the States and goes, "Amigo, we want to bring you down full time, pay you $1,000 a week. And I have a huge idea to do an angle with you and I where you guys hang us." And I'm like, "Okay." So we quit our jobs. We flew down to Puerto Rico and we did this angle with Invader where him and Carlos Colon were at the studio and we hung the Invader. He went to the hospital actually for like a week. The fans loved it. It was a huge deal. And we ended up selling out stadiums after that. And it was a huge deal. But bottom line is we were with the Invader, and it was weird because in Bayamon, where he killed Brody, we were actually in that same shower going over a finish with Invader. And of course, the whole time we're thinking in our minds, this is really surreal.
Watch your
But
back.
he was a nice guy. He was very nice. And he was, now I don't know what all happened. And I understand there's that's a little touchy subject, but to us, he was always very nice. And we made a lot of money with him. And I don't have anything bad to say about the Invader, but I realized what he did.
Hey,
Gotcha.
Mike, did you see? I told you to check out the one post I did on Facebook. My Facebook.
Which one?
The one, yeah, the one where the guy he spit. I guess he said it in Spanish, and you could hit.
Yeah. The fan did, yeah. There's thank God, the time we were in Puerto Rico, I've talked to many fans over the years, and like I just did an interview in English with Profi, who was our manager in Puerto Rico. The Hangmen and the sheep herders, who are the bushwhackers, are pretty much the two most famous tag teams in Puerto Rico history as far as heel teams, Rudo teams.
As far as like America.
When I post anything, the fans, people love the Hangmen. We are not tooting my horn, but in Puerto Rico, the Hangmen are one of the top teams of all time.
Well, yeah, when I even mentioned,
and I'm very thankful, but that's because of Invader, Carlos Colon, Savio Vega, who was TNT. He did a heel turn to a face turn during that angle. If you ever get a chance, Eric, go look at the angle. It was Carlos and Invader against me and my partner, the Hangman, and Savio TNT turns face, and then we ended up selling out stadiums with him and Carlos. It was great. It was really good. Savio was a great worker. TNT, great worker.
yeah,
And Carlos was good too. A lot of people don't realize Carlos, man, he was solid. I'll tell you what the thing about Carlos, he was our boss, but he was the kind of guy you could be rough with him. Pepper him with punches and just, the thing about Carlos that was amazing, I'll never forget this. Did I ever tell you this, Marty?
I don't know.
When we would wrestle him, in Puerto Rico, you have to blade a lot, and for us, it was the worst because we wore masks. So what they would say, they'd be like, "Amigo, we want you to blade." So we would have to, before the match, cut ourselves in the dressing rooms.
Oh, just redo it.
And
Like
no,
you
and
had
then
to
new
seal it
skin
up
it
somehow?
New skin it. And then when they would hit us, it would start to open up. My
Yeah,
partner,
he hit
Bull,
it again. Yeah.
Bull was like a warrior. He would just look in the mirror and go. I was like, I'd have to do like 10 times because I just couldn't. I'm not even warmed up and I'm cutting my damn head. But then you'd get out there and then they'd hit it and then it would open up. But Carlos, dude, he kept his razor blade right here under
I
his.
hated that.
Well, that wasn't uncommon back then, was it?
Well, that was the first time I've seen it. Maybe it wasn't, but I would watch him and I'd be hitting him in the corner and he'd go, "Amigo." And then he'd stop and he'd grab it and he'd start cutting himself. And I'd hit him. He goes, "How's it?" Because they always ask you, "How's it coming?" And I'd see, "Oh, it's good, amigo." But then he'd put it right back in his mouth. And I was like, "Damn, this is crazy." Like cutting yourself and then put it back in your mouth.
That's what they said. Abdullah the butcher would do.
Oh,
He would keep it in his mouth, but he wore them on his fingers.
well,
too,
let's not forget he got hepatitis eventually too.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and that's
Carlos
what
didn't have
I
that.
don't want to say Hannibal's name, but Hannibal had told me that.
Yeah, he gave it to Hannibal. He gave it to Hannibal.
Yeah.
There was a lawsuit
You
about that.
used the same damn blade for a week. Fuck. And then Hannibal, I guess, asked him to cut him. And so he's like, okay.
I find it hard to believe
Yeah,
that Hannibal
nobody
would be the only one to be on the receiving end of something like that.
Well, there was probably other guys, but they didn't have the resources to file the lawsuits,
Yeah.
Marty, now, as far as blading goes, because I know you didn't blade very much because you're look at that
I
face.
did, but
Such a pretty boy. The only time I can recall actually seeing you blade was when you had Rose and Summers at the Showboat, which is what catapulted you to the WWE. Was that the first time you ever like majorly
no,
bladed?
Kansas City.
Oh, you did?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. I think with Bob Brown for sure.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to think who else because you got Grimy would I don't want to say remember Mr. Pogo?
Yeah, of course. He was in Puerto Rico with me. Yeah, he's great.
Was it? Yeah. And I was thinking him, but gosh, I hated selling his shit, so I don't think I would have.
When you wrestled Flair, because Eric, I don't know if you know this or not, but when Marty's first break, he wrestled Flair like in 2 or 3 cities, 60-minute Broadways draws.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I never knew you wrestled Flair.
60 minutes.
Yeah.
Was that WWF?
No, this was in Kansas City.
No,
His
in
first
WA way back.
Oh, dude, so you're talking about the 80s.
We're
Yeah.
talking 84. He was wrestling
84.
Flair in the main event for 60 minutes. That's crazy.
Wow, dude. No, is there
Dude,
footage
How
of
did
that,
you
Marty?
do that, Marty? Was it
What
3 or
was funny to me about that was because I thought Sean knew. I didn't know if he was there during that, but that got talked about a bit. This new kid right here going an hour of Flair. But Sean we'd done some shit and WWF, and of course the split off, and then Sean was getting involved with Flair, where I come out and I screwed it up or whatever. And he goes, "I don't know what you're trying to help me for. I'm the one that's going to have a match with Flair, something you've never done." And he was serious because he thought, I'm working with Flair. You're closer. Shit, I did it all the times in
Can
Kansas.
you believe that? In his first 2 years in the business, he did 60-minute Broadways with Flair.
Well, I mean, just put it in perspective. Like, how hard is that to do a 60-minute Broadway in that ring?
With Flair for
Your
me,
conditioning has got to be top notch to be able to pull
I've
that
never
off.
done that. That's amazing.
yeah, and it was a nerve wrecker for me, which would make you blow up faster than anything.
How the hell do you remember everything for 60 damn minutes?
Well, because he would call it in there because it wouldn't be a spot tackle drop down.
Right.
It'd be a one move at a time. Come get me, give me some.
Eric, when both of us first started, the business was so different. Like for me, I was used to calling things in the ring, and I've always been used to that. Like I'd go to Japan, and I'd wrestle these guys that sometimes you don't even in Puerto Rico. Many times you would never even see a dude. I wrestled Dutch Mantel and Duke the Dumpster Dorsey on different shows in Puerto Rico, and I never even met them. We introduced ourselves in the ring.
I've done that in Japan quite a bit. Yeah.
I would literally, I locked up with Dutch Mantel, and I'm like, hey man, how you doing? And then we're like literally talking in the ring, just meeting each other and calling spots. And that's how it used to be in the back in the day. You would literally go out there and you'd call spots and do it. And then sometimes, like when I'd be in Puerto Rico or Japan, if I was wrestling a guy that didn't speak English, you go through the referee. And I tell him to move or tell him to do this. And referee is an integral part sometimes of a match. But I mean, many times in Japan, I'd wrestle a guy that didn't speak any English, and you just work it through the referee.
That's what I say. In Japan, the referee could speak both.
Yeah, thank God for the referees, right?
Yeah, because he'd be a translator.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite person to wrestle back then, Mike?
For which area? I mean, I did so many of them.
For any of them.
Any of them? Oh, geez.
Like if you, the one guy that sticks out in your mind, like this was my favorite person to go up against.
I appreciate that. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you because
Lenny Lane.
I wrestled Lenny a few times, but yeah, no, I would say honestly, I couldn't. I wrestled Marty a bunch. I need to tell you the story that Marty.
No, I was just going to say.
No, we need to talk about that story. But first, I'll tell you, as far as my favorites go, I'll tell you this. I can't tell you my favorites, but I could tell you probably the top 4 or 5 guys that were so good that I noticed the difference. You know, you wrestle thousands of guys, but I could tell you right now, Jerry Lawler, Jeff Jarrett,
very good, very
Armstrong, Stan. These were guys that when you were in the ring with them, you knew there was something even more special than other guys because they were so smooth and everything they did was just so good. Fit Finley, amazing. Okay. Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, all these guys, dude, when I wrestled them, you just knew you were in there with something special, you know?
Yeah.
You just knew it. And then you'd have guys that were really green, like Steve McMichael or, you know, these guys that were just really green, and then you're carrying them. But I can tell you, there was a lot of guys. Oh, Eddie Guerrero, Ray.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Ray Mysterio knocked up. See these teeth right here?
Uh-oh.
Ray Mysterio knocked. These are thanks to Ray Mysterio. He knocked all 5 of my front teeth out.
What did you do? Move?
No, I didn't move. We were in a match with it was him and Eddie against me and my partner as disorderly conduct with WCW, and he just flew at me and he hit me with a forearm out of the blue, and it just hit me in the mouth, and all 5 of my teeth just bent, and so then I got tagged in by my partner, and I said to Eddie, I go, Eddie, Ray just knocked my teeth out, and he goes, oh, okay, amigo, and we just did something, and we went home, and then the next day I had to drive to Atlanta, and I got all new teeth. They put them, well, at the time it was just temporary. And then that night we had to wrestle Kidman and Ray, and I had just like a partial fake thing in on Thunder. And then a couple weeks later I got my new teeth, which was great because I used to have a big gap in my teeth. So Ray was almost crying when he did it. He's like, oh my God, dude, I feel so bad. And I'm like, no, dude.
Thank you.
I wanted new teeth forever, and I couldn't afford them. And I got my brand new teeth because of Ray. Thank you, Ray. Yeah. Yeah. But the point being is that there's some exceptional guys out there that you know when you're in there with them, it's special. You know, Marty, God, you've wrestled everybody.
Yeah.
Marty has wrestled everybody. So who would be your top 5 guys that you would think would be like maybe your top 5?
I'd love to hear this.
Actual talents.
Well, I mean, the first 2.
Let's not make this a mile story. Let's make this a block story.
Okay, the first 2 immediately. He always gets on to me for that, Eric, because when somebody asks you what time it is, don't tell them how to make the watch.
Marty will tell you how to make the watch. Yeah. So who would you say though?
But number 1, and it's right there together.
Yeah, I love it.
And Sean, you know, because we were together for 7 years, knew what we were thinking when we'd look each other. Certainly when we see the body language, okay, you know, I know what.
But as far as working wise, would he be one of them for sure?
Yeah, him.
Okay.
And amazingly, because I worked with him once, and it was, I put him right there with Sean, would be Kurt Angle. Okay,
Kurt Angle. Oh, yeah, I believe you guys had a killer match.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
he was magic.
Did you ever see that match, Eric? It's amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was good.
It was magic. It was. it got me because being a collegiate wrestler myself, and of course not an Olympic like him, but I watched him the night he won the gold medal, and it was a hell of a match. He had to go overtime, and the way he had to hold that guy for a takedown the last till time clicked out, and veins and shit. It was like holy shit.
That dude won a collegiate title with a broken neck.
Broken
Yeah.
freaking neck.
Right. Yeah.
And Marty, and I don't know if he knows Eric or not, but Marty got a contract because of that match with Eric. I mean, with
Yeah. Yeah.
He got signed back to WWE, a big contract because of Kurt and him. Yeah.
Right. Actually, the signing came the night before. It was a
Oh, it
Rocker
did?
reunion. Yeah, it was a Rocker reunion.
Oh.
And that went so well. Vince had told me, I'd heard through the phone, I hadn't seen him that night afterwards, and said that, well, I really need to talk to you about staying on. Because it was supposed to be come in, do that, and go.
And this was after Marty had been gone for a while. So this is great.
6 or 7 years, yeah. And Vince had already told me, like I want to talk with you, see what we can do. And of course, and I love Sean, but Sean calls me the next day. He goes, "Hey man, I might have got your job. I told Vince came and told me you looked good." I said, "Yeah, you should give him a contract." Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But Vince had already told me that's what he was going to do. And then the next night, it was for Thunder, which was we taped it on Tuesdays.
Not Thunder.
Thunder,
WCW. SmackDown. Yeah. Come on, Marty.
Yeah, I know. And so the next night I had Kurt. It was that match, and then after that, John Laurinaitis pulled me aside, and he goes, "Hey, we need you to sign this. Vince wants to offer you." And it was, I didn't know.
And it was a big contract, Marty.
Yeah, well, what he told me, the way he explained it to me, it was the biggest contract I'd ever signed.
Hell yeah.
It was, but it was called. He says it's only for $400,000. I've never made that much in 1 year.
That's a hell of a payday.
Yeah, and
I'd say so.
But he said it's $400,000, but that's lower end money. I didn't know what that meant. I said, lower end, what does that mean? He goes, well, if you don't work another day in a year, you're making that much.
So that's minimum, Eric. Can you?
Yeah, so that's basically the minimum. And the way he was saying, and it worked out that way. They were going to make me a top heel, and it was going to be, they were going to bring me in, which they started developing it, but bad things kept happening legally, But so they were setting it up, and it was right there ready to go. It was going to be Sean and I. Remember the Kiss My Ass Club thing? If you remember, Vince was going to make me kiss his ass to get a contract. But, Sean's going to come out and say, no, don't do it. And then they jumped Sean and it took up for him, whatever. This was to be that year's WrestleMania. It was the Rockers versus McMahon's. And I would have loved that.
So tell them what happened, Marty. Let's get to the cuts of the chase.
Would get to finish the details of it. Shane McMahon come over. He goes, hugs me up. He goes, God, that's a dream to work with you and Sean.
Can you imagine that? The Rockers against the McMahons?
That would have been awesome.
And
but
I'll get to it. but so that was going to be WrestleMania, which at that point was 2 months away. And then what, Mike? I guess what you're saying, I was on probation, and the probation officer had come by one morning, didn't like me. I was getting jacked. I was doing good. I was working out hard. I had a good person to train with. Mike was always good to train with, but he'd kill me. He'd go so heavy. But I was looking jacked, and the lady came up, the probation officer.
This wasn't a deal with the girl from the street.
No, now we got to backtrack to.
I thought that was
that was the first time. Yeah, it was Shay, and I won't say Shay's name, but that was with her.
Wasn't that what caused the Kurt Angle thing? I saw you 2 nights before that happened.
After Kurt Angle match, and then we got into a little fallout thing of her jealousy.
Yeah.
And so then police had come by because screaming at 1 a.m. right after we watched the match, SmackDown match with Kurt and I.
Because you were at a bar, right? And you watched it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and what it ended up being is like it was the bar that was showing wrestling all the time, and of course, I was there Tuesday night, wrestling Kurt Angle, but I haven't seen it on TV, and that's Mike can tell you we love to see us. That's how we get better.
Yeah.
See what you look like when you did shit.
Teach yourself.
So long story longer, Marty basically got in a fight with this girl.
Not a fight, but a scream and shouting thing.
It wasn't his fault. She really was just, I met the girl the night before at the strip. I used to bounce at a strip club, 2001 Odyssey, and Marty happened to show up there one night with her. And
Looking for you, yeah.
And I even said to him, I go, dude, I feel this girl is maybe a little trouble. And sure enough, she ended up being trouble, and then they ended up getting in a fight, and the police got called. And long story short, even though you didn't do anything. Bottom line is it?
Well, she admitted.
Did that end up causing you where you couldn't leave the state, and that's why you couldn't get the contract?
Doing what?
The reason you couldn't take that contract, was it because?
No, I actually signed it. I signed it.
What was the reason why it didn't go through? Because
when that argument happened,
right.
The neighbors had called the police because it was like 12:30 at night. People go to work. It was on Tuesday. Well, actually, I take it back. It was Thursday. Whatever they were showing SmackDown then. They taped it Tuesday. Showed it. They kept switching Friday night, Thursday night, Friday night. Well, I think it was a Thursday because it was still a work day for most.
So bottom line is though, because of the fight though, that kind of fucked it up.
Yeah, the police had come. They actually came. She explained everything, and they were like, "We'll calm it down. We can't come back to this again." Yada yada yada. But when I was on probation, so when the police report went through somebody's desk to review them, they said, "Oh, he's on probation. That's violation. Go get him." It was a violation of probation.
And you think about that, Eric. He literally had a $400,000 contract, and just because it wasn't even his fault, this girl was just trouble, and then he ends up.
She wasn't. She was I was 40.
She was a handful, dude.
23.
Okay, but just like to do with Frankie Lancaster 20 years before that, when you date younger girls, sometimes they can be a handful.
Oh yeah, what's her name? Well, yeah. And at least I was younger then. I was only 30 something. I was only 10 years. This time
you had a lot of fun either way. Eric, are there any questions? I see all these people.
You did. So there was one right here for you, Mike, from Edward Bagaki. He said, "Did Mike ever have any WWF tryouts?"
I think Eddie did that on purpose because I wrestled Eddie. He wrestled as the Perfect 10. Great worker, by the way. I had too many tryouts for WB, and I never got hired. How dare you, Eddie, bring that up?
You didn't even tell me. I didn't know that.
Dude,
that was a setup.
I might be the only guy who had my first tryout was right after me and my partner Bull broke up. It was supposed to be the two of us, but then he fell in love with some girl from Tennessee and didn't want to go. So it was me against Coco and Jim Powers, and I didn't get hired as the Hangman single because I had never been a single as the Hangman. Then I got a tryout as Mighty Kodiak when I did the bear gimmick. I had a bear on my head I used to wear, and I didn't get that hired either. And then me and my partner Tom got a tryout against the Dups. So yeah, I had 3 tryouts and didn't get hired at any of them. But I got 3 letters from WB saying, "Thanks for your interest." So
that was good. That's how they did it. Damn.
Yeah. Good luck on your future endeavors. I got 3 of those.
That sounds like it.
What
Yvonne S. said, "Mike, have you ever had a manager you had difficulty working with?"
I never had a manager I had difficulty working with, but I've had some really great managers. Johnny Valiant managed us for Ivan Putski's territory in Houston. Ox Baker also managed us for a little while.
Who did?
Ox Baker.
Oh,
and then in the AWF, we had Sir Oliver Humperdinck. I mean, talk about legends, dude. Yeah. And then in USWA, Jamie Dundee was our manager during all that craziness. We were traveling all the time. Jamie Dundee, Bill Dundee's son, was our manager, and he was great too. Yeah, we've had great managers, but I've never had a difficulty with a manager because I would have not had him as a manager.
Yeah.
What was Ox like, man? Such an intimidating looking figure.
Who?
Ox Baker.
Dude, he was. I remember one time in Kansas City, Marty, this was one of my nights off, and Ox was bored. He came and knocked on my door, and he had that black toenail polish on his.
Yeah.
And he comes in, he's like, brother, and he talks with such a deep voice. It's like this guy could, like, you could hear him 4 doors down. What an intimidating big guy,
Yeah.
but such a nice
yeah.
guy. With the
Nicest
big
guy in the
fluffy
world.
eyebrows. Meeting Ox Baker and having him as manage was which is thrill, dude. Thrill.
I bet, man.
Big
You know,
guy. Huge.
When Ox and I hung out, and I learned a lot from him. It was so much.
Yeah.
We would hang out and go eat. He loved the buffets. Let's go get one of them all you can eat. So I'm like, I'm all for it. And we go to this place, and the guy.
Remember the Gold Buffet in Kansas City?
I'm sure, yeah.
The one where I had the frog legs, and I thought they were chicken. I'm eating with Marty at a buffet in Kansas City, and I'm like, man, these chicken wings or legs are good, or wings or whatever are good. And he goes, those are frog legs, and I fucking almost blew my chow. Remember that?
Frog legs are good, man.
No, I didn't eat anything else after that. It was disgusting. But go ahead, tell your Ox story, because Ox was. Did he do any managing with you or anything, or no?
No. We rode together quite a bit, and I learned a lot from him. How that works when you ride with
How
each other.
tall was he, guys?
Big.
6'6", maybe.
Big.
About 6'6".
Oh, I
6'7".
have to tell you a story right now. Kansas City story, if you don't mind, Eric.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Fucking Marty, he'll rib you. So we're in Kansas City. Remember, this is the church. I was only there for 4 months. There was a guy named Buzz Tyler who was a legendary guy back then in that area.
Yeah.
And Marty goes, go up to him and tell him that this fucking story. I almost got killed. He goes, go up to him and tell Buzz that he reminds me of Bob Sweeten. Sweeten. And I go, well, I don't even know who that guy is. But just tell him that he reminds you of Bob Sweeten. So I go, all right. So Buzz is working out before the match with them rubber cables, like doing the curls. And I go up to him, not even thinking anything, because I don't know Marty set me up. And I go, hey, Buzz. And we start talking. I go, you remind me a lot of Bob Sweeten. And he looks at me, and he knew right away. He goes, did Marty tell you to say that? And I go, no. Turns out Buzz Tyler's wife left him for Bob Sweeten. That's an awful rib, dude. You could have got me.
But that wouldn't. I mean, I just love Bob Sweeten was known for stealing shit out of the dressing room.
Can you believe that he told me to go up and say he reminded him of Bob Sweeten when that was his wife, right? You say he left him or something happened like that. Oh my God, dude.
But I didn't. I don't think I knew that part. I just know he was a thief in the dressing room.
Well, point being is you set me up, and thank God Bob knew. He goes, Marty sent you, didn't he? And I'm like, no, but yeah, thank God. But anyways,
but you got me back. Let me tell you what, Bob. I may have told you this before, Eric. I'm not sure, but Mike and I would ride together all the time, and I got hungover. I was so damn hungover for, we'd riding together. Meet like 3:30, 4 o'clock to go to the city. I'm hurting. In fact, I think I might even said for you to drive it, and you were like, "I'm not young. I don't have a license." I forgot what you said, but I was like, "I got it, man." And I was driving like head throbbing and shit. And he told me, he goes, "Would you, besides aspirin?" He goes, "What I heard's real good for is apple juice." And so okay, I'll give it a try. Anything to make this shit stop. And I went in this little convenience store, got a gallon thing of it, and just sipped on it on the way. Just keep sipping. And he's telling me too, just keep drinking it, just keep drinking it. And I'm like drinking as much as I can. All of a sudden, after what?
This is before a show.
Yeah, we're heading to again Wichita, and I'm like, oh. I was starting to, squinch my butt cheeks together. I gotta go to the bathroom, man. And then I don't know if we were running late or what, but I had to go. So
we had to stop at a truck stop.
Yeah, we got over there, and I'm like Cheech and Chong, and they're holding my butt cheeks together and walking my leg.
Dude, Eric, it was the greatest thing. He's walking across the parking lot of the truck stop, and you know how you do that walk when you got to clench your butt cheeks?
Oh yeah.
And he's fucking.
And as you get closer, it gets worse.
It gets worse. And Marty is there, dude. And I'm with him because I got to pee. And we get in there and fucking.
Well, no, I made it. I made it into the bathroom stall. I only got my shorts pants halfway down.
An explosion, dude.
I mean,
And there was someone next to him in the stall.
yeah, and they got up and left because it's sandblasted. I was only bent over, so it sandblasted 3/4 of it. And then, I'm like, it's in my underwear too, so I can't.
He
put
left
them
his
on.
underwear.
Yeah, tried to flush them and backed up the toilet. And so then I'm like, got my pants on. I'm easing out there. It's nasty and it stinks. And here comes this kid and his dad, and he looks at me and they go, Marty Jannetty? I'm like, oh, huh? Because they're both recognizing me, but so do I lie my way out? I mean, because of the stink. I ain't even worried about the
It
stalls.
was awful, dude. Awful.
There's 6 stalls. Fuck if the little boy didn't go right to that stall, goes in, he goes, oh, daddy! I screamed it, and I'm like, okay, I hurried the hell out, but I heard, come, you're not gonna believe what Marty did to the bathroom.
That was your finishing move. That's what they call now the Vince McMahon.
That was Marty's big finish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you got me on that, telling me drink all that. I find out later apple juice does that.
Yeah, that was fun.
Wayek on here said, Mike, are you still wrestling part-time, or are you totally retired now, and do you still talk to Tom?
Thanks, Wyatt. I'm not wrestling at all. I actually did my first appearance for Dave Hero in 15 years in Milwaukee about 2 weeks ago, just doing a signing as the Hangman. Tom and I talk all the time. We're very close. And but yeah, I'm too old. I'm going to be 60 in 3 months. I'm old, dude.
Damn, you're catching up with me.
I'm catching up to you, dude. I mean, when you get that old, there's still guys like Ricky Morton and some of these other guys that still wrestle, and God bless them. But for me, I couldn't even imagine putting the boots.
I don't wrestle no more.
I couldn't imagine. And I don't even have the injuries Marty does. I mean, I'm fine. Healthy wise, I mean, I have a real estate appraisal business, and I'm out and about all the time doing my thing, but I couldn't imagine getting in the ring and hitting the ropes at this age.
Do you miss it?
But are you like
it? Yes.
I miss the camaraderie with the guys.
That's what I was going to ask.
And I do miss, I mean, there's nothing, you talk to any worker who's actually done something, you'll never feel that feeling of the pop of the crowd. And that is an aphrodisiac that you'll always miss. Yeah, but I don't miss all the bullshit that goes with it, the travel. And as you get older, you just don't want to do that anymore, at least for me. But I miss it.
I can understand that.
Don't get me wrong. If I was healthy and young, I would, of course, do it. But I'm realistic, and I know it's just not in the cards anymore. But I'm so thankful for all the time I had. And
don't forget, y'all, if y'all needing to get a house appraised, that Mike is tearing it up. He started, I don't know how many years ago you got into it, but
18 years now. Yeah, I do it real estate, but I don't do it for private people. So it's just, anyways. But thank you, anyways. Okay. But yeah, but bottom line is do I miss it? Yeah, but I'll tell you what, doing that thing I just did 2 weeks ago for Dave Hero, where we did a signing, it kind of gave me the urge to where I wouldn't mind doing some WrestleCons or whatever and signing as either Disorderly Conduct or the Hangman, because it was fun. It was fun meeting the fans again, and I've got a sister that I had never met from my dad's side, Melody, and at Crusher, I don't know if I told you this, Marty, or not, but I got to meet my sister Melody. Dude, I never met her. Like she's one of my sisters, and we got to meet. Unfortunately, I had the mask on, so I didn't get to really meet her. But yeah, I mean, things like that happen when you go do these things. Man. Yeah,
that's cool, man. Yeah. I gotta ask, man. So, what was it like wrestling at that old sportatorium? You touched on it a little bit, but there was something about that venue that just seemed so legendary, even though it was probably one of the biggest shitholes from what I heard.
Yes.
The ambiance of that place, if it could have told you a story, I mean, I wish I could have visited it before they tore it down. But what was it like wrestling there, man?
Dude, to be honest with you, when you're there, you can't help but feel the history. And
yes,
the way it's set up, even though it's a shithole on the outside, the way it's set up, the ring is right in the middle of the building, and all the seats are kind of on an angle. There's not a bad seat in the house. And when you come down to the ring, the fans are just all around you. And it's just a cool experience, dude. And they're really into it. And the dressing rooms are the shits and all that, but the building itself is so perfect for wrestling. and it was awesome, dude. Except for the ring being so damn hard. I don't know why they couldn't come up with a better ring. I mean, dude, when you wrestle and you have a hard ring like that, it really does affect your performance a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
You know,
Once
Marty.
you say they said that ring was like in the concrete. Man,
It was.
It was a permanent fixture.
Dude, it was just grabbing a drink here. It was like literally wrestling on the floor. That and the St. Louis wrestling on the floor almost.
Oh yeah.
The only other place I can compare it to was I wrestled at the Chase. Did you ever hear of the wrestling at the Chase in St. Louis?
Yep. Yeah. Oh man, I know his name. We're friends.
It was a big deal.
Munchnick.
I think Marty, was that Mushnick?
Yes, Mushnick, but the other guy that's with him.
So I did a couple shows I actually wrestled Hulk Hogan, believe it or not, at the Chase.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. Damn.
Yeah, dude, this was as Mike Madigan. But that ring was so damn hard as well that I wrestled Bulldog Bob Brown, Hogan, and Angelo Mosca Jr. at the Chase.
Damn, who was that for?
That was from Mushnick. Yeah, it was from Mushnick, dude.
Oh, so his old thing.
Before I met you. This was before I met you. This is even this is like 83. But the ring was so hard. The whole ring was so hard that you couldn't even. Every time you took a bump, you felt like you were going to pass out.
Was it for 4 ropes? Because those are boxing rings and they're fucking hard.
Yeah, I think it was 4 ropes. Now
those are boxing. Those we had to wrestle in them quite a bit in the
is Eric froze up again, or is he doing daddy talk right now?
No. I was looking up the interviews because I just interviewed this guy last year that runs that was St. Louis. Now he did it with Muchnick, and I'm trying to remember his name.
Dude, let me tell you something. That ring is so honestly Marty, what would be your 2 hardest rings? To me, it's wrestling at the Chase in the 80s, and then Sportatorium. What would be your hardest rings that you recall?
The one there was one that might as well have been like you said, concrete. Your own company just put ropes around concrete. What's the Fort Leonard Worth or Winterwood or something? There's a military base out there for the Central States area. I can't remember if it was Missouri or Kansas.
It was like a spot show.
Yeah, but it was a boxing ring.
Okay.
With the 4 ropes, and I'd never been in. I used to box, and I'd never been in one as far as wrestling, and so I didn't even think of it. When I used to box, I didn't think like this is not going to bounce like this later in life. Never thought about it, and then when we got in there, didn't think of it. Only thing I kept thinking is 4 ropes. Where's my ass going to hit? Well, how do I need to lean back on it?
I'll tell you, Eric, when you wrestle in a ring that's super hard, it's like it really changes everything because
you walk lower.
You can't do the things you normally do, and when you do them, it takes you a sense. I did it. Do you ever Pat? You know who Pat Sajak is?
Yes, Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah. So he used to have a show on. I don't know if you even know this, Marty.
What?
Pat Sajak used to have a night show. It was only for like 2 years on CBS or NBC. It was called the Pat Sajak Show, kind of like Arsenio Hall show.
I think I do.
Never
remember
heard
that.
And they had me and a guy named Chris Curtis. They had us come on there as wrestling guests, and Pat was in the ring with us. And we did a schmaz where me and Chris Curtis did our thing, and then Pat got in there with us. And that ring was so hard that I nearly shit my pants while I was taking bumps. And it was live on NBC or whatever it was. Yeah. And that ring was so hard. It was a boxing ring, 4 ropes, that every time I took a bump, I thought I was going to crap myself. Marty.
Yeah. And I shouldn't tell this. So I won't mention Alundra Blaze's name.
Oh, no, dude.
You remember what I'm talking about?
No, but I can't wait to hear it.
She used to wear this white outfit, whatever, 1-piece singlet, whatever, like the girls wore.
Did she poop herself?
Huh?
Did she poop herself?
Once, and then another time.
Please tell me. I can't wait to hear this.
Another time, though.
Well, hold on. You got to tell this. We
didn't hear the first part.
We got to hear the poop story.
Oh, she's got slammed in the ring, like what you said, how hard it was every day.
Where was it at?
went somewhere in Missouri again. Because
What was her name?
I would say Alundra Blaze, but her
She was
real
also what was you know who she is? What was her other name? Medusa.
Medusa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Medusa
but don't say
Michelli.
not here. Don't say it in public.
It's a little late now.
Yeah. But see, so once it was Poo Poo wearing the white. You know, it's weird about the colors we wear sometimes because Mike, you had said something about the mask and how, and I never thought of that. Well, first, you got to move it to juice.
Yeah.
Secondly, if it's a dark mask, you're not going to see it. So I was thinking, did y'all wear white masks that time or
No, we would they would rip them. We had a couple masks that were like kind of, they'd just rip them a little bit and then we'd do the deal. And we would even hit our own forehead with it, and people don't realize when you wear a mask, because we wore them for years, it's very hard because when you're selling the moves, people can't see your face. So you have to be double animated. You have to move around even more.
Yeah, your body
is tired because, you have to double animate. So nobody realizes that when you wear a mask, it's much harder than not wearing a mask because you have to double animate everything.
Definitely. So the other time, I'm not going to say Alundra's name, but
she pooped twice?
Well, no, the other time we're all assuming, I said we all, and I won't say that it was in WWE, so that way people can't track it down and see it. But she had.
That would have got a promotion with Vince.
Evidently, but I'll tell you what, now to her credit, she kept going. She didn't, like.
During the match, she shit herself and kept going?
Yeah, I don't know if she shit herself, but there's poo-poo looking shit all in the bottom.
Well, then she shit herself. Okay, that happens. Shit happens.
The next time, and the other time that something like that, it was all red. So like,
oh no, Marty.
Yeah, I mentioned that to her last time I seen her. She kind of got. I don't think
she's going to appreciate this, but okay.
Well, no, we're not saying her name, but she, and her and I are very good friends.
Maybe not long.
But yeah, if she hears this, don't y'all that heard this, don't say nothing to her. But she took like a trooper then. But I mentioned it to her last time I seen her. She remember you came through WWE. This is right before she went to. Maybe this is why she did it. She went to WCW and took the belt and threw it in the trash can.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yep.
That time there frame. I don't know if this is why or not, but I mentioned it to her because I was right there and her and I were close. We actually, I don't want to say dated because we didn't date, but we would hug each other at night. But saying goodbye. But she had evidently, I mentioned it to her. So remember that time you had the white outfit thing and it was got all bloody and you had to finish. She finished the match. I mean, some girls would have probably rolled up, covered and ranted back crying or whatever. No, man, she was a trooper. It happened. But when I told her about it, just reminded her, like, remember that? I don't know what the hell you're talking about. That never happened. Okay.
She's done really well for herself. She did the monster truck thing and she's kind of reinvented herself a little bit, I feel.
A lot.
Just so Alundra doesn't feel so singled out, is that something that ever happened to either of you guys while you was in the ring?
Well, we're on the period, start a period?
Nah, crap yourself.
I think Marty had his period one time, but for me, I did honestly, I did shit myself with Michael Hayes in a singles match with Vern. He gave me a backdrop, and I don't know what happened, but I shit myself. And I'll never forget this. I shit myself, and in the AWA, what used to happen when you were a jobber, you sometimes would have to wrestle 3 times in the same day because it was three tapings. So I had to wrestle Michael Hayes, Mr. Saito, and Roshki all on the same day. And Michael Hayes was my first one, so I shit myself. So I go into the bathroom and I call Frankie DeFalco, and he'll tell you that, well, Frankie DeFalco, I go, dude, I shit myself. So we go in the bathroom and I clean my shit out of my fucking tights because I only had one pair of tights as a kid. I didn't have no money. And then I had to go back out there and wrestle 2 more times. So, yes, to answer your question, I shit myself and rinsed them out and did it again. Marty?
No, sir. I have never.
Don't lie.
Did I remember? I mean, I might have farted a little wet once, but I don't think I've ever pooped.
Okay, so you sharted. That's different. Okay.
Yeah,
How do we get onto this, Eric? how did you bring this up?
I was trying to make Alundra feel better.
Yeah, and actually it does, because now you turned it onto me, shit my actual
I'm
self.
probably still
There
gonna
you
get my
go.
ass whooped.
See, Alundra, I mean, we equaled it up there.
And I still love you and miss you.
So I was looking at the questions, and this Ben Myers guy, thank you for asking. He asked if I had ever met Skander Akbar when I was in Dallas.
Yep, you got it right here, bro.
I did not meet Skander there, but I actually met him in Puerto Rico, and it was weird. I was hanging out at the beach by myself on like a Saturday morning, and Skander was there walking around, and he wouldn't know who I was because as the Hangmen we wore hoods. But I just walked up and I'm like, "Hey man, I'm one of the Hangmen." He goes, "Oh man, okay," and we start talking. And what a nice dude, man. Skander was just awesome.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Short. I didn't realize how short he was. He was a really short dude. But
Yeah.
I met Skander there, and it was great. You know, the thing about wrestling is you meet all these guys. Can I tell you one quick story real quick here? So
Please do.
when I was in Puerto Rico, Buddy Rogers, the Nature Boy, was on vacation. This is a true story. He was on vacation.
I hope so.
Well, I'm just saying this is a crazy story though. Buddy Rogers, the Nature Boy, this is old school. He was at the arena or the stadium for a show with his son. They were on vacation, and then afterwards, Dick Murdoch and Buddy Rogers and myself sat down at this bar right in Old San Juan, and I just listened to those two tell stories. Buddy Rogers and Dick Murdoch. I didn't say nothing. And I listened to these two guys tell stories, and I wish I would have taken. We didn't have cell phones back then.
I ran.
How cool would that have been to get a picture with Dick Murdoch and Buddy Rogers?
To hear them stories would have been cool. For me,
Well,
I mean,
it was really
The
cool. to hear
original Nature Boy.
This is the original Nature Boy, dude. And he looked great. He was still in shape. His son looked good too. I mean, his son was in really good shape too. But man, I just so regret that fact that I didn't get a picture.
Did Buddy's son wrestle too, Mike?
You know, I don't know that. He looked like he could have, but he wasn't. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But they were
He was
there
just
on
there with
vacation. They were there on vacation, and he
I
looked great
got you.
too. They both looked like $1 million. And to hear him and Dickie tell these stories was just priceless. Priceless.
How about Fritz? Did you get to meet Fritz Von Erich while you were down there?
I didn't.
Dude,
Von Erichs they already had moved. I would have loved that, dude.
That's one of my personal favorites. I've always been partial with Fritz, man.
Yeah.
That voice alone was intimidating.
Wait, who we talking about? Who?
Fritz Von Erich.
Oh, Miss
Well,
Radical.
Marty had Kevin's last retirement match. How cool
Yeah,
is that?
sure did.
Well, Kevin, yeah, over in Israel. In fact,
And you and Kerry were close.
Kerry.
I never met any of the Von Erichs,
Kerry was
unfortunately.
good.
Oh, okay.
By the time I got to the Sportatorium, they sold it to the Jarretts. So they had nothing to do with it, unfortunately.
I know they still did some wrestling for Jarrett in the very beginning, but I don't think it lasted
Maybe
long.
not when I was there, because when I was there, they
Yeah.
weren't. We were the champs, and they weren't anywhere to be found. I would have loved that.
Well, Kerry ended up going to WWF with Marty and them.
Right.
And I think Kevin was the last one, and it finally just fizzled out.
Yeah, I would have loved that. I never got to meet any of them, but I know I got to meet Chris.
Wait a minute, didn't you? What about when St. Louis? When you didn't you do the Kill Auditorium once or twice?
Yeah. I was with you when Rufus, the whole deal with Rufus, where you set that damn deal up.
I didn't do that.
Yes, you did. So
okay, here's one. Eric, he accuses me of setting it
no,
up.
this is true, and this is crazy. So at the Kiel Auditorium, there were several floors, and there was all these dressing rooms. And it was the only time I was ever there. I was there in a 6-man. My partners were Tug Tyler and Gypsy Joe, and we were wrestling Marty, his partner Tommy, and who was your other partner? Buzz Tyler. So
Oh, 6-man.
it was a 6-man. And
we had to do that once in a while, yeah.
Marty decides to tell Rufus R. Jones. Do you know who Rufus R. Jones is?
Freight train.
Eric, do you know who the freight train Rufus R. Jones is?
Yeah, I've heard of him.
He was
I don't remember him specifically,
big
but
old black guy that had he was pretty good in those days.
Flick's father.
So he tells Rufus, I'm new to the territory. So Rufus decides to tease me, but I don't know this, that he's going to initiate me to.
Okay, time out. He's going to tell you this version. I'm going to tell you mine.
Oh, geez.
Well, that was pretty close to the same. But go ahead.
No, I want to hear your version. It's probably better.
Well, mine's the truth from me, what I know. You know what you know because you had to go through that.
I know I was scared, but go ahead.
Well, Rufus, he'd always, he called everybody horse cock because he felt like he had a horse cock, but he's horse cock, hey horse cock, and he could hold it with a handful, and he had big hands, and about another handful was
Yeah, he had a lot. He had a lot going on.
yeah, he's swinging it around like the lasso thing, and he'd mess with the guys and shit, and he knew Mike was new, and he knew Mike and I were hanging out.
And I didn't know Rufus at all.
You feel, and Rufus is a big boy too. On top of it, like
Big old black guy, great
Yeah.
guy. Yeah,
not tall so much, like what 6'3" ish, 6'4".
no, maybe not, even, but just thick, big old
Yeah.
dude.
Big old boy, and horse cop, and he was like Marty, tell your buddy there, what's his name? Tell his buddy there, Mike Richards, because he got announced by Terry Garvin as a different guy every night for the first week. I mean, he was at so many names, but so he picked up on one of them. Tell your boy there, Mike Richards, tell him come see me. I've been just dressing by him.
So he would hide in different dressing rooms.
Yeah.
Throughout the floors. And I wouldn't even know it because I'd be walking around and Marty would be, hey, go in there because they got to ask you a question. So I'd walk in. Go ahead, Marty.
Well, and then I said, the room where Rufus said he's going to be. I said, hey, Mike,
Rufus is naked with this unimaginable sized thing, swinging it around. Hey, man, come here. And chasing me around the dressing. I know this sounds
down the hallway. They come out the dressing room. I did see that. Like, you still had your clothes on, though. But running and Rufus.
Can you imagine this goes on, Eric? I mean, could you imagine trying
like
to pull
it would
that
have been
today?
perfect to team up with the Hangmen.
Right. That's probably where I got the inspiration for it. But imagine today somebody pulling that, chasing around a guy with his schlonger hanging out.
Well,
you would go to jail for that.
Well, even just talking about it for Flair
Yeah.
a couple of years about almost ended his career.
Yeah. But this was no
Yeah.
big deal for. I mean, I went up and down the dressing rooms for a couple of floors, and eventually,
P. Diddy's going to jail for less.
right. That just shows you how things have changed, how crazy that is.
Oh yeah, big time. Hey, so you got this person that's asked this question numerous times. I think they're very interested. Melody Longoria said, "Mike, would you ever consider being a trainer?"
Okay, this is actually my sister that I met at the Crusher Fest.
That's your sister.
Oh, okay. The one
This
where
is
you had
my
the mask
sister,
on.
dude. Yeah, Marty, I haven't told you all this. Yeah, I ended
Hey, Melody.
up meeting my sister for the first time from my father's side because I just found out about them a couple of years ago. But yeah, I actually had a school. I had a school in Milwaukee for a
I
couple of
didn't know
years.
either. Damn.
Yeah, I had a school and it was good. I actually trained about 3 or 4 guys that actually did some stuff, but no one made it big. But yeah, I loved it. It was great. But the problem is when you have Marty, because you went to Houston to run that school.
Yeah,
When you have a
man.
wrestling school, the problem is that getting people to pay for the actual training and then paying for the facility and everything else. It's a lot. It's very hard to keep a school running. Right,
Yeah.
Marty? You
Well,
went
yeah, it was.
Marty moved to Houston to run a school, and then it just didn't work out.
Well, I ended up, because the guy that owned it then hired me to run it for him and then start buying and taking over. Thank God before the buying and taking over, he had pulled a couple shenanigan moves. One of them, the biggest one, is we had gotten a TV favor where they wanted to come film, which they did one time, film, some of the schools, some of the activity, and then put on their station, TV station, the news that night. Like, this is in town, this is in Houston. And if you want to, we'd give them a price, it costs this much for work payments. If you want to be a star, come here. This is where you'll learn, yada, yada, yada. Shit. We had a big ass turnout that when we did Wednesdays. So with that Wednesday, a monster hit. I'm out in the park. Say 7 o'clock. I don't remember the exact time, but 7 o'clock, an hour early, sitting there, and people are showing up, and it's crazy. But Rick, I won't say Rick Guerin's name, but he is not showing up. And I'm like, I finally call him and don't get an answer. I'm waiting for him because the key I got, the lock has been changed. I can't let everybody in. And I'm sitting there, and all these people showed up, potential signers, but it was like, come watch practice. and he's not there, and I call him again and again and again, and I'm starting to panic because these people. It was like Houston in the summer. It was 95 sweaty ass degrees, and he ain't showing up. And I'm calling. Finally, he answers. I say, "Hey, man, the door lock. I can't. The key ain't working. Oh, I had to change the lock. Somebody tried to break in."
Yeah, bullshit.
But yeah, and then well, get your ass down here, man. We got all these people from the advertisement, all these people down here. Oh, I'll be there in a minute. Just let them hold them on, hold them on. I'm like, why are you? What? What the hell's going on? He was in the baseball cards, trading and all that. He goes, "Oh, I got a guy coming over. Dude. He's going to buy some really major baseball cards."
Yeah.
What?
So needless to say, Marty, that whole thing went south. It was
Oh,
bad.
that was the end of it. I was done after that, and so and it was going good. I was actually running a wrestling program called Power Zone Wrestling, and we had the first 3 weeks of TV. We got a 1.3 rating, 1. I know they ain't big numbers. I don't know how it all works, but we won 1.3, 1.6, and 1.9. That was the first 3 ratings that we had gotten. Each week it went up, and when we got to 1.9, they said that's the biggest wrestling around here has gotten. Now I don't know if that included WWF or whatever, but that was the biggest rating of any independents. So we were on the climb, and then we got screwed over there too.
You know what it comes down to, Eric, is honestly, besides the big leagues, all these indies, not Dave Hero, but a lot of these indies and things, it's really hard to find good quality promoters. And they're out there. They are out there, but there's a lot of them that
There's a
are.
And a
few,
lot
yeah.
of shysters.
And there's people that'll sell you the moon, and then unfortunately
Yeah.
sometimes you fall for it, and it can be really frustrating. And that's why me personally, I don't miss the business anymore. I have my own business and I do my thing. And don't get me wrong, if a promoter called me and I heard he was reputable, I would do a WrestleCon or whatever like that. But I don't miss all the bullshit that happens because there's a lot that goes with it.
Yeah.
Well, I won't go into detail, man, but like I had very little involvement in the business, just with podcasts, but I dipped into it just a little bit and started some stuff up. And
So
I'll
you
just
know.
say the one experience that I had almost made me want to just not have anything to do with wrestling. The
There you
business
go.
is crazy. It's the craziest thing I've ever
And
seen.
thank goodness that didn't affect you because you're great at what you do. But I get that it's a tough business. Man, can you believe we've been going for almost 2 hours, Marty?
I was just gonna
I
say,
knew this was going to happen. I know we got to wind up. Is there
A while
any
ago-
questions that anyone? I just feel bad for anyone that's been asking questions. And then we'll wrap
yeah,
it up.
me too. I agree with that.
No,
Hey, one thing while we're doing that,
No. We got him on there. So we'll get these 2 more questions that was hanging out. Gavin said, Mike, what's the one match you tell someone to watch who has yet to see your work? Also agree, Hangmen were awesome. What
Gavin, thank you,
of
man. I
you tell
appreciate that.
people to tune into?
That actually makes me feel good. I would have to say my matches in Puerto Rico, like we had some stadium matches with TNT and Carlos and Invader that the people were going bananas and it was great. I can't think of, I mean, the matches with Eddie and Ray were really good. Our matches with Benoit and Malenko in WCW were really good too. I mean, there's been so many, to be honest with you.
and tell them after you finish that one. But
No.
then tell them about that great match you had in Memphis with the Rockers.
Oh yeah, we still didn't talk about that. So Marty, he acts like he doesn't want to talk about this, but he really wants to talk about it.
Because it's just funny when you tell it. It's embarrassing to me, but
So I'm going to make it quick, Eric. So when me and my partner Bull, the original Hangman, and I, we were in AWA and we hadn't gotten the Hangman break yet. We were just Mike Richards and Rick Antner jobbers, but Bull had come up with the Hangman gimmick, and we were presenting it to Greg. But Greg was like, "You guys need to go get some experience somewhere else." So
Greg got you.
yeah. So we wrestled Dundee and Lawler for Vern when they were champions, and then we got the opportunity to go down to Memphis to wrestle for them. Now, in our minds, we're thinking, shit, they might actually sign us and we'll get work as the Eric's gone again. So I'm thinking we're going to get signed as the Hangman maybe. So we drive I didn't even tell you this, Marty. So Bull had a stick shift truck.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to drive stick shift, but we couldn't make that 12-hour drive because I didn't know how to. So what happened is while we're driving to Memphis, dude, in the middle of the night when Bull's sleeping in the driver's seat,
Yeah.
I would not have to do the stick shift. I would just steer on the expressway for like 2 hours while he's sleeping.
Oh shit.
Can you believe that? It's a true
That's
story.
craziness.
And we get there. So we get to Memphis and we're wrestling Marty and Sean. So I'm thinking, oh, great. I got my buddy Marty, who I was in
I
Kansas
was
City
happy
with.
too.
He's going to take care of me. And we're told we're doing 2 out of 3 falls where they win the first fall in like 30 seconds. And then the second fall, we'll get our shine a little bit. And then they'll beat us. Well, it turns out there's only a 30-second squash. There is no shine for us.
Either.
Oh, you know that. They squash us in 30 seconds.
Like you do, but
They squash us in 30 seconds. The Hangmen gets squashed in 30 seconds by the Rockers. And then they go do an interview, and we're standing in the ring. And I say to Bull, I'm like, man, that's weird. They're doing an interview.
yeah, right there in the studio. They're right there in the ring.
falls. It's live. This is live. We're like, that's weird. And then they go to the back behind the curtain, and we're like, well, that's weird. Me and Bull standing there, and all of a sudden the fans are going, get the hell out of the ring. And the camera crew goes, get out of the ring. And we realized that we weren't getting a second fall. We just got our asses squashed in 30 seconds. So we drove 12 hours to get squashed in 30 seconds.
And that had nothing to do with it.
My
Mike.
buddy, who I was in Kansas City with, you bastard.
I had nothing at all. I didn't even know.
You knew that finish was happening.
Oh, you think I'd have done that to you?
I think you did.
I mean, ribs. Of course, I play ribs.
That was an ultimate rib. But anyways, long story short, we ended up wrestling the Nasty Boys at the Mid-South Coliseum the next day, and at least we got to have a good match. But yeah, that was a long drive back to Milwaukee. A long
It's
drive.
embarrassing for me because like my best friend, and he holds it against me.
I gotcha. How long ago was that? 30 years ago now? Jeez, can you believe that?
No, that was 87. So
87, 97, 07. Yeah, dude, that's over 30 years ago.
Yeah, almost 40.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, are we getting old?
Hey,
So
the
now
big-
we lost. So we lost Eric again. So I'm just going to ask a couple questions so he comes back. Let me look at my
Okay.
phone. And Melody, thank you for tuning in. That's my sister. And I'm
Wait,
so-
Eddie wants to say something.
Somebody's asking if Mike has any Sheiky baby stories.
Any what?
What's she asking?
Somebody in there is asking if Mike has any Sheik stories.
Do you have any Sheik stories?
I wish I did. I never met the Sheik. I
That-
would have loved to met the Sheik, but I never met him, so no, I don't. I wanted to say hello to Melody, my sister. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, hi, Melody.
I finally got to meet her. Anna Maria, of course, is asking how we can. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention this. I'm wearing my Hangman shirt. Marty, I gave you one, but you never wear it.
I wore it the other day.
I don't think you do. I think Eddie wears it when you're not around, and I don't know what's going on with that.
Well,
But
probably when you
hey,
come
that-
around,
that's-
and I'm not
that's,
around.
you know, Addie, if you wear that when he's not around, and you know, that's between.
Dad, do you wear the Hangman shirt when I'm not home?
Don't-
That sounds like a straight lie.
I feel she does.
I got a shirt. Mike says she probably wears it when you're
I
not
feel
around.
I feel she sleeps in it when you're not around.
If I wear it
Um,
too.
Oh, she said I'll be jealous if she wears around me.
TD Kirkland said he enjoyed watching us in the WCW. I appreciate that. I don't think many other people did, but thank you.
No, they did.
I'm looking for.
Here, I got one for you, Mike. If you
Yeah,
had to pick, which I know you wouldn't want to because you love them both, but I think I kind of know this, but I want to ask you. Okay, so they say you pick your partner, and we're going
Who?
to take that partner. Which one would you pick, Hangman or Disorderly Conduct?
Well, the good news is that it was the same partner for both of them, so I would pick.
Tom?
Well, Tom was both of them, yeah.
I thought
Bull was Hangman originally. He was the original Hangman. Then he brought me on. But then eventually I had Tom as
Oh,
Hangman.
so there was
And then
only.
it's just, so I would say honestly, but my favorite character will always be the Hangman because it was
Oh, yeah?
cool. Yeah, when I grew up, dude, my favorite guy was Super Destroyer 2, who
Yeah.
wore a mask. Bob Slaughter, Sergeant Slaughter, and so I always wanted to wear a mask. And so to wear a mask for AWA was a dream.
Yeah.
I'm glad Bull asked me to
Plus,
do that.
y'all did that character so well.
You never wore a mask, did you? I mean, with that pretty face, who would? I mean,
We were
gosh.
in the bedroom, but that didn't count.
You never did wear a mask in the ring, though, did you?
No, I don't
Have
think.
you ever wrestled
you
as
can
anything
beat
besides
him.
Marty? Have you ever wrestled as anything besides Marty Jannetty even once? Oh no, you were Marty Oates. Marty
Marty,
Oates.
yeah, for the first
Yeah.
match, second match, and I think that's it. 2 matches.
So for those who don't know,
Both
he was trained by the Oates brothers, so he was Marty Oates.
Yeah, because Jerry Oates trained me, so he got me booked as the younger brother, and both were in Mid-South. Somebody just sent it to me recently. I had to wrestle Anvil. It's like his beginning, so he's wearing short tights and just a long brownish red hair, and it's just you wouldn't think like who is that guy? It was Anvil.
Man, I would love to see that match, dude. That had to
I
be
got it. I'll send it to you.
I would love it. So Anna Maria, you know Anna Marie. She
Yeah, of
asked
course.
you how to get a Hangman shirt. I don't sell these shirts, but Anna Marie, you're a friend of mine. Of course, I'll send you one.
Yeah,
but I don't
you
sell
start
them.
selling them too.
And
I
then
just started selling shit.
who?
I just started selling shit. In fact, let me
Why don't you push the K-pop crazy? You haven't even mentioned it this time.
Okay, but if you go to martyjanetti.com, you can get stuff off there. And this is new, fresh off the press.
Oh, whoa!
See these little baby tights.
I think Eric could fit those.
And then that's the bottoms, and here's the tops. So it's a little baby. How old is the little baby? Like just born a couple months ago. And so she's gonna have to grow into them. It's like 4,
So what age are those for?
3,
Months.
huh?
6 months.
6 months.
And she's
I
only
like it. I like it. Little baby rocker. I love it.
It's cute. It's a cute outfit.
Yeah.
And then my old co-host, I ain't saying much about him because I don't know when he's gonna get aggravated or not. But he's doing shit like this that Rob Van Dam was doing, like books. But George is doing it. Savage is doing it for kids books, and RVD's doing it for.
Oh, that's great, man. RVD's killing it. He's doing good.
He's doing everything good, man.
Yeah, man.
But so yeah. But anyway, Eric, we're gonna have
Eric,
to
anything you want to wrap it up with? I know you keep freezing up. Is he there now, or is this just a cute picture, Eric?
might be froze again.
Either that, or he's staring at something very seriously.
Eric,
Man, that
there you go. Yeah, we better go ahead and wrap.
yeah,
Well, please come back again, Mike.
dude, I would love to. I mean, honestly, we talked probably longer than we probably should have, but at least we got to do this finally. I'm so happy I got to do it with you, dude. You know, I love you. We've been friends for 41 years now, dude.
Yeah, that's craziness.
That's a crazy thing. Think about that. And we got so much history, and I'm so glad we got to do this. And I can't wait to see what else you got going on with the podcast.
Well, hopefully you can come on more often. And I don't know, Eric's got some monster big things. I'll let Eric tell you all about
Dad Talk is doing great, and that sounds like there's more going on, right?
Yeah, man. So I'm so happy for him.
And I'm looking forward to seeing Addie on some of your podcasts. I thought you had talked about doing her on there.
She'll keep her clothes on.
Oh, stop.
Well, that's not a bad deal. Addie, are you going to do some of these podcasts a little bit?
Yeah.
Say it again.
Tell Mina I said hey.
Okay, I will. But we'd like to see you on here a little bit, too, because you have things to say, too.
Yeah, eventually. He'll break
Okay.
it slow.
I gotcha.
But
Right. So,
All right.
so last thing I got to ask you, Marty, before we run this thing all out.
yeah.
If you had to say, and this is important now, because people would like to know this, seriously, what would be your favorite match of all time? And I know you say Shawn Michaels usually, but I'm going to say besides that. What would be your favorite match of all time besides the Shawn Michaels match?
I think a tag match once with against the Orient Express.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Rumble 91.
Yeah, Paul Diamond and Pat Tanaka.
Yeah, yes, unbelievable.
Think about that. You four in the ring together, man, that's just like poetry, man.
Easy,
Okay.
so easy.
And one other thing I wanted to say, too, because Eric's not here, he had asked about who was some of my favorite workers. I should have mentioned Kurt Hennig because he was.
Kurt who? Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah. I forgot to mention him, but he was one of the best of all time.
Did you, like, somebody recently that might have been watching, the shit on TV with Dark Side. It might have been Ring or something, but somebody had said like a misconception, and they said, "Oh, that I liked working with Kurt. I would never work with him. I don't. I'm trying to think. It was just today I saw it too, but I can't think who it was. But Kurt Hennig was a damn
Man, did you guys ever? You guys never worked, or you did?
tagged with. Not
Man, I
again.
would love to see you and him in the ring together. Though, damn, that would have been a match.
Oh, you know what? The thing was, it was going to be that
Eric can't get back in.
he can't get. So what he's saying?
Yeah, he
I
can't
don't
get
know how
back
it was
in.
shut down.
Well, you leave the studio, he leaves the studio, and then
Are we just gonna continue? We're gonna do this all night long. It's gonna be like a marathon, like
Oh shit! Yeah.
like
I
the
think he's
Jerry
trying to
Lewis
get back
telethon.
in, but he let Eddie know he can't get back.
It's gonna be like the
Can you
Jerry
hear
Lewis
me, guys?
telethon, Marty. Marty,
Say
you ever
what?
seen the Jerry Lewis telethon?
I did it, yeah,
It's
once.
gonna be like that. We're just gonna go all night long.
There you are. All right, let's close out while you're here.
Yeah, I had to get in on my cell phone, dude.
Eric,
My internet hasn't done this
out of
in
all
years.
the times that I've never been on, the one time I'm on, and all this happens. I think it's because of me, probably.
No, it ain't.
No, I was enjoying it. And Mike, you never met the Iron Sheik?
I never met Iron Sheik. Well, actually, I've been on shows with Iron Sheik, but I never spoke with him. And I had thought you asked about the original Sheik. But
Yeah, that's why I got back down in the
But
comments.
honestly, no, I've only been on like one or two shows with the Iron Sheik, but I never really got to speak with him. He was kind of an aloof guy. I mean, there's a lot of guys I could tell you stories about that I met, but he wasn't one of them. No, unfortunately.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I was just asking Marty about his favorite. He said his favorite match besides Sean was the Orient Express. Pat
I
Scott
heard that.
and Paul Diamond. How great would that have been? You know, that was a great match.
Oh, yeah.
Easy.
Oh, and here's one thing you guys probably didn't know. I was Boss Man's dark match when he got hired for WB. I was Mike Richards as a jobber, and they asked me to wrestle Boss Man, and I put him over so well, he ended up getting hired, and I got an extra $25 for it. I
Oh, damn.
got an extra $25 for it, but Boss Man got hired. Yeah, I was his dark match. Yep,
That's
first
awesome,
try.
man.
Yeah. So
All
a
right,
lot
bro, I
of
love
hidden
y'all.
stories.
Mike, please come on again sometime.
I'm
Yeah,
always
man, when
available,
my
man.
internet's not messing up.
Yeah, I mean, if we could actually get Eric on the show with us, it would be really nice. No, but it was a pleasure, guys. So nice seeing you guys. Eric, I'm so happy everything's going good with your dad talk and everything else.
Well,
You're
thanks,
killing
man.
it. And anytime
Well,
you guys,
and Eric, I mean, I don't want to overstep saying anything in case it's not time. You know, you want to announce everything on your own. But in the future, if you know what we had talked about earlier, maybe.
Yeah.
How does Mike like if you had to get somebody? Because me and you are on great terms.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
then-
I just I got a lot of irons in the fire right now, and
good for you.
I mean, there's actually been a few people that showed up asking me about it tonight. I'm helping this family out of West Virginia that's really well known on the internet. It's a needy family. They've been exploited really bad over the years, and I just got a lot of irons in the fire. So I want to be able to help Marty, but I'm very busy. So hopefully we can make this happen where you can get some help, on the back end, and I can show up and
Yeah,
help
I
you
mean,
these
if
shows
you-
going.
if you'll just allow me to check in with you and say, hey, what about this? What should I do about that? That'll
Yep.
be good. If you'll stick around.
and
for
I
that.
told him between me or Addie, there's other people that could step in if you're not available.
Absolutely,
You know?
man.
I
Absolutely.
mean, ideally you'd be the guy, but if you're not available, I'm capable. I'm sure Addie's very capable, and sometimes it's not bad to have a rotation.
Not
Mike,
at all.
we're from the same
That's
hometown.
what I was just saying, Mike. I mean, we'll ask around. And see
We'll
what-
figure it out. We'll figure it all out. But thanks again, guys. This has been a pleasure.
Yes, sir. All right. I love y'all to death. You know that. I love all our people. And you know the old saying, same damn time, same damn place.
Thanks for tuning in, people, and thank you for the questions.
See you guys.
All right, brother.